Folks, we're here. 1 year ago, this show spent over 3 hours discussing the career of Alexa Bliss, and things have never been the same since, right? We get recognized on the street. People come up to us and ask when Act 4 is happening. But I got a feeling that tonight we're about to level up once again, you know? I mean, that was cool, man, what we did there. We did Shane McMahon. We did Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, soon to be Academy Award winner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But tonight, as the great contrarian Alex put it, we tackle legitimately one of the most debated acts. You said modern wrestling history, Alex. I'm taking that. I think in wrestling history at this point. I mean, the debate is even spilled into our chat here via the confirmed shoot. But very excited for the show ahead. A unique lineup, to put it mildly, to discuss. Going to be a great time as always. We hope you are well, having a great Tuesday night. And we have our expert panel, as always, the Oracle of Wrestling. How are you, Chief?
I'm good. My first football team is 1-0. Go Gamecocks. My other football team probably won't be 1-0 come Thursday evening, but that's okay. I'm good. I'm ready to talk about what is strangely a controversial topic that I don't quite understand why. But we are here to talk about it. So, yeah, the duds.
The duds, indeed. This will be interesting. I'm particularly intrigued where the great Bob O'Neill stands. Bobby, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well. It's good to be back. I haven't been here in quite some time, but, I'm back, feeling good. Had my time off the road, and I'm ready to get back to it, man.
You're a true pro, and I always appreciate the way you refer to the StreamYard like it's an office or a studio location. I haven't been here for some time.
Yeah.
Very true, Bobby. Very true. Exciting times ahead. Contrarian Alex, how are you this evening?
Getting back to normal. For those who follow me on Twitter, I don't know how I'm just supposed to resume normal life after the past week that I've had. But Liam and Noel returned to North America and then the United States, and it was one of the all-time trips that I've been on. So a good time was had. And I think a way to ease back into real life now is by putting just not another Grin Grappler on the board here, but one that I think is going to lead to some pretty interesting discussion and I think a lot of fun in the chat, and also just I mean, there's a lot to talk about here tonight, so I'm happy to be here. I'll say that. And we got 3-4 days until my happiness dies again when Joe Burrow takes the field and the Bengals once again reveal themselves to go 9-8 this season. So I'm going to have some fun while I can before this weekend.
Well, you went into a bit of a countdown there. I'm going to use this opportunity to make a plug. Some of you will know that I have been bullied into a birthday. It's definitely not my call that we're doing a birthday show. Definitely wouldn't be me that would make that decision. I've been forced. Bob O'Neill has been part of that process, by the way. Just please, Joe, can we throw a party? I guess we'll do it. Thank you for this graphic rice band here. There's some interesting notes, especially bottom right corner feels relevant. Just keep that in mind, folks. We'll be back on Friday.
Can I just say something really quick, Joe?
Yes. Yeah.
This is important. This was definitely not Joe's doing.
No.
It definitely doesn't have anything to do with the fact that there was nothing particularly planned for Friday evening. No. This has nothing to do with that. So
no, because famously I would have tackled that differently. Yeah, famously. I would have come up with a game or something. Oh no, I'm more creative than that. So, my goodness, this is one. I think this is going to go more than any other episode we've ever done. I think this is going to go in directions way beyond the match lineup. The match lineup, I think more so than ever tonight, is really just a vehicle to discuss these fellas and all that they've been and the ups and the downs. Unless we forget, I mean, obviously we'll circle back to this at the very end, but, we joke about how this is like a hot topic for some reason. Dude, we are like a month away from these fellas wrestling again. As a team. They're going to wrestle the Hardy Boys in a month on Bound for Glory. Whether they should or not is a different question. That's happening. So it's wild, the kind of range of time. And the matches we're doing here, we cover what? Just shy of 20 years or 18 years we cover?
Mm-hmm.
And that last match is over a decade ago. So
they wrestled on a WrestleMania after the last match that we covered. Yeah.
2016. They wrestled on a WrestleMania. Yeah.
Now the match.
Yeah. Not to say about the match, but still. Let's dive in here. The Oracle of Wrestling. I'm very intrigued. Your fandom, if such a thing exists when it comes to Dudleys, where does it start? Where does it end? Where does it go? Up, down, all everything between. Go for it.
So I was definitely a big Dudley's fan when I was a kid. Wow, here I go segueing into something obviously nowadays would not be looked at as a good thing. But my earliest memory, I remember when they powerbombed Mae Young off the stage.
Yeah, it's memorable. I mean, it is.
And but that's like my first very first memory of them. And they were baby faces. At the time they were heels, but they were they became baby faces right after Mania maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was definitely fans of them.
It was the Trish thing, right? That's how they turned babyface.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. The feud with TNA. And I just, there were things I love their whole shtick, the what's up, get the tables, all that stuff. I was a little kid, so I ate all that shit up. They were not my absolute favorite. My absolute favorite was Too Cool, actually.
Yeah.
That was my favorite tag team was Too Cool. But the Duds were up there. The Duds, APA, and Too Cool were my three favorites. The Hardys I actually didn't have
really
that much love for at the time. I mean, I liked them because they're baby faces, but those three, APA, Duds, and Too Cool were my top three of the Attitude Era teams during that period. I remember being really mad at them. I remember the whole alliance thing, that was a big deal, right? And I was aware, but I still kind of had would hate the heels somewhat. There might be one or two wrestlers that I kind of sided with no matter what. But when the Duds were the heels, I remember hating them for a while. But by Survivor Series 02, when they got back together, worth noting, I was a huge Bubba Dudley fan in 2002 when he was had a brief singles push on Raw, and
you were the one.
Really wanted him to beat Brock Lesnar when I was a kid. Because I don't know, Alex, I know you were watching a lot during this time. Do you remember when he and Brock had that match on Raw?
Yeah, it really seemed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can watch it back. I mean, they were building towards a pay-per-view match between Triple H and Bubba Ray Dudley.
Yeah, and
as unhinged as that sounds.
I was super into Bubba Dudley. I remember he had a world title match with Triple H in the fall. That's not good. If you go back, but at the time I was somebody, because somebody beat Triple H, please. Even me at 9 years old knew that was
Mm-hmm.
And I was hoping Bubba Dud, would do it. But when they reformed the Survivor Series 02, I fucking loved that. Watching them live. Stayed a big fan of them. Thought it was going to be a big deal when they went to TNA. Didn't end up being as big of a deal as I thought it was at the time. I started to sour on them pretty quickly into the TNA run. Probably about a year starting to the TNA run. I was like, But when I got back into TNA in 2012, the Bully Ray run was really good. And I was like, okay, he's actually gotten to be a pretty good singles wrestler and whatnot. I remember watching the AJ Last Man Standing match from Slammiversary 2012, I think.
2011, I think. But yeah, he's running hot in 2012 for sure.
Because 2012 was the Joseph Park thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was a big fan of that stuff. I remember D-Von had the TV title for a long time there. And then, of course, their return to the Fed in 2015 was a cool moment. Their run there was not much of anything. But they were definitely one of my favorite teams as a kid. Going back and watching all ECW stuff, I think they're pretty great there as heels. The heat they get is would not be tolerated in 2025. Of course, obviously, the very infamous Heatwave 99 spectacle. They There was also the ECW house show where they kind of caused a riot, which was like late '98, early '99, which I've seen before, and that's pretty crazy. Alex, have you ever seen that? There's like a.
I've seen. Was it the Elks Lodge? I've seen that one where
I think
the guy
might be Elks Lodge.
He jumps off the balcony to try to get at him in the ring. Yeah. That's part of the spectacle, or not spectacle. What's the word I'm looking for? The lore of the Dudleys is there's like these riots that happen. There's no footage of, but there are a couple that things kind of got out of control.
There are a couple because that's definitely lore, as Alex said. But there are one or two that are kind of like, wait a minute. I mean, like when you're going out there and calling dudes, very offensive slurs. I mean, somebody's going to get pissed off. I really like them as heels, kind of in hindsight and watching a lot of their stuff. Baby faces, I think they're super good in 2000. Outside of that, I don't love them as baby faces, to be honest. But as heels, I really enjoyed them, and I thought we made a pretty good selection of their matches based off of that.
Just a quick sidebar. History has done a poor job of capturing how over Too Cool were. That pocket of time that Oric was referring to, they were astonishingly popular. I think Rikishi's the only part that people remember Scotty, but I don't think they remember the levels of popularity that we're talking about here,
Dude, listen, when Too Cool won the tag titles, I'll never forget watching that because they had what was it a rap? I can't remember who it was. It wasn't the guy who plays Mini-Me. It was
Joe C. from Kid Rock's band.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Yes, it was Joe C. who helped him win the tag belts because it was like and he danced with him.
The most 2000 thing ever
for the tag belts. Yes.
Yes,
because Vern Troyer is the guy who played Mini-Me.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember how long ago this was, but I posted something on Twitter and said what you said, Joe, there's a 6-month window where Too Cool was as hot as anyone on the roster, and some young person, probably Bob, responded to it that's not true. And I'm like, no, it was. The shining example I'll go to is there was that all-time Raw main event 10-man tag, where Too Cool teamed with The Rock and Mick Foley, and they seemed like that. Yeah, that makes sense. They're on their level. It was very short, but they were hot as fuck for a minute, man. Yeah.
Brian Lawler works Face in Peril, and the whole crowd is doing the Grandmaster Sexay clap thing when he's trying to get the hot tag. Yeah.
Insane times. Bob O'Neill, I have no idea if you like the Dudley Boyz. Where do you stand? What is your timeline of Dudley's fandom or lack thereof?
I've been trying to figure that out myself if I like them or not. So I first became aware of them SmackDown 2. They're in that game. I think one of their load screens is putting someone through a table, so it's like, hey, that's awesome. I want to do that. And by the time I started watching, it was right when they got broken up in the draft. So D-Von's doing the Batista stuff. Bubba's the second or third top babyface on Raw. So it's that's not going great. And then they finally got back together, and it's this rules is what I kind of wanted to see for the whole last year. And I like them a lot in 2003. They win both sets of tag titles, which I always thought was really cool. And then, but I mean, by the time the Undertaker stuff comes along, that's quite unfortunate. And then, the ECW One Night Stand is a great send-off for them. And then I really didn't follow them in TNA. They're always everyone talking Bubba became a great singles guy. And I'm like, I'm not going to seek that out. I believe you. And then they came back, and that was cool. It was a cool moment, like you guys said. And now we're here.
We're here. We are here indeed. I do want to know, Oracle and I especially will refer to them as the Duds a lot. That is not an insult. That is Bubba Ray Dudley's own nickname for his beloved Dudley Boyz team. Please seek out, via illegal means, the RF video shoot in which Bubba legitimately says the Duds around 18 times across a 2-hour runtime as he explains all the different trials and tribulations of the great run they'd had in New York. So, there you go. I was thinking about this a lot earlier too, much like Bob. I think I've spent most of my wrestling fandom thinking the Dudleys suck.
Yeah.
I definitely thought they sucked when I was at the height of my... I think every wrestling fan goes through a phase where they use the phrase match catalog.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the wrestling fans' equivalent of being on like hooked on drugs, you know? When I was at that point in my life, I thought they sucked. And then I started just watching wrestling matches. And I actually concluded I liked them quite a bit. I think they're a good tag team, to be fair. I quite like them. I mean, I will say, you know, we joke about the big debate elements. I do think, you know, the sort of established canon among mainstream wrestling fans, they're like the best tag team ever, is a lot to take. I think that's why there's such a pushback, right?
Yeah.
But the biggest take I have on the Dudleys that maybe differs from the norm, as much as they're famous for these crazed brawls and these wild, you know, profanity-filled promos, I actually think they've become underrated as like a nuts and bolts mechanical tag team. I think D-Von was really solid in that regard. And Bubba had a very, he had a lot of individual quirks that stand out to a wrestling fan that's just watching as a wrestling fan. You know, the way he bumps. Mm-hmm. Dude, Bubba will bump with, like, in every match we do here, other than probably the last one where everyone else dies like 8 times, like, he's launching himself around. So I actually think they've become underrated mechanically. I don't think they're the best tag team ever, but I have really grown to enjoy them over the last couple of years as a team that, like, when they come out on a show I'm watching, I generally enjoy their presence. There are exceptions to that, especially in TNA. I think ideally, if you were just trying to change the way their career panned out, you just split that TNA run in half and like move them around a little bit, to be honest. But I'll get into that more later on. I like the Dudley Boyz. My conclusion. Contrarian Alex, what about you?
Dudley Boyz would have been initially after Mags, and of course, like a lot of people in my age range, the Monday Night Raw at the Manhattan Center. My first exposure to the Dudley Boyz. Was it D-Von that wrestled Tommy on that show? Yeah, and just being like, well, what's going on here? And then they showed up in '99 in the WWF with no change to their exterior, and they obviously were floundering for a little bit because the reputation of Public Enemy kind of rightly or wrongly followed the Dudleys into the WWF, and then Royal Rumble 2000 was their big breakout. They had that match with the Hardys, and they had real gear now and shit. So I liked the Dudleys as a kid. As a 13-year-old, I was in 8th grade with my Dudley Boyz t-shirt. And the bloom fell off the rose pretty quick, though. When they split them up, I was like, why? And then even at 14 or 15 maybe, as a young man, the Bubba Ray main event push on Raw was just a bit much to swallow, which is funny, and I'll circle back to why in just a minute. And then when One Night Stand was amazing, and I think we talked about it on the Grin Along we did of that, but the big hook of the debut episode of TNA on Spike TV was the Dudley Boyz debuted. That was like the big thing that happened and led into one of the matches we're covering this evening. And yes, widely varying degrees of artistic success is the way I would describe their TNA run. So much so that, they really tried to put over the Motor City Machine Guns, but at that point, people were so checked out on them that it really didn't matter anymore. And so, like, that's where it reached. But then it circled back around, and I am here to tell you the initial Bully Ray run was good shit, man. That's something I will defend and fall on, and we'll talk about it a little more when we get to the third act. I guess to kind of kick it off here, and speaking of the Bully Ray act, I went to a TNA house show. Remember those? I went to a TNA house show at the Austin Music Hall in Austin, Texas in 2011, very end of 2011. And legit people, like, security was holding people back from jumping the rail at Bully Ray doing his shit in the ring. Like, so, and he wasn't having to resort to the shit we were talking about with ECW and whatnot. So that dude, to a point, understood how to get heat, as they say. They came back to the WWF, and now they are what they are. And yes, I would have a hard time saying they're the greatest tag team of all time. I think the Dudley Boyz are good, and I think over the next couple hours, we're going to make a pretty solid case for that. I do have, like, a big take as far as like what I do consider the Dudley Boyz to be in a positive light. It's not the greatest tag team of all time, but I think they are good. Two things can be true. They didn't suck, which I think is like this, like the pendulum's gone too far with people pushing back, because both Bubba and D-Von have spent the last few years perpetuating this narrative and declaring themselves to be the greatest tag team of all time. And so people are not, and yes, is Bubba a bit grating and hard to listen to? That would be an understatement. So I think it's made some people do an inappropriate 180 to say that they were never good, which is not the case at all. And I think we'll kind of lay that out as we move along here. But yeah, it's funny you call that about D-Von, because I have a note about one of our matches. If he just gets in there and starts cooking like a tag wrestler, it's like crazy. So yeah, a lot to discuss, and an interesting act to discuss. Any way you cut it. They went from, as you said, profanity-laced, slur-filled tirades to becoming this beloved babyface team in the WWF. Right. And there's people that the "what's up," they don't even know what that's from and think it's a thing the Dudley Boyz did, you know?
And to that point, whether people, like the team or not, one thing that's not up for debate, this is an iconic act. By hook or by crook, the Dudley Boyz are an iconic wrestling act. Like, again, you don't have to like that. They're an iconic wrestling act, so I don't really care for. But it's a real thing. And what you just said is on the money. I mean, people, they remember that stuff vividly. All the different elements of the act. Well, not all of them, but you get my point. This will be interesting here, folks. We work through this step by step. We'll see where we wind up on the matter. We'll let it play out. Okay, let's get rolling. Both fellas debuted in 1991, so as they wrestle next month, that'll be 34 years removed from their professional debuts. I just rewatched a little bit of the Straight Outta Dudleyville business earlier today to get a reminder. Bubba Ray Dudley debuted as a pro wrestler, basically untrained, he said. He basically just learned on the job. Have a look at this, folks.
Hell yeah.
Indie Bubba Ray, he was going by the name Mongo Vile. Look at this fella here.
No, that's Ben Zanny. You got the wrong picture there.
By contrast, D-Von Dudley had a quite different reputation, trained by Johnny Rodz, and was considered like a bit of a... Look at this fella. Look at this guy right here, brother. I mean, they were headed on different paths, is my point here. This imagery, I think, speaks to that. And to that point, the way they got into ECW was really quite different. Bubba came along as a friend. He kind of backdoored into a run in which he did like a sport where he took a choke slam, I think, from 911, I want to say, and it like popped the boys like, oh shit, look at that choke slam he took, and they got him a gig. By contrast, the way D-Von got in ECW was that they had him do like a tryout where he got in the ring with Perry Saturn. And the story between the Dudleys, which is, mileage may vary on how much you believe that, but their story is that he was put in there with Perry because Perry Saturn blew everyone up, and the opposite happened with D-Von, and they were amazed by D-Von's sort of, physical prowess inside the ropes. So I think they're so tied historically, it's easy to kind of forget different routes. Oracle?
I wanted to talk about D-Von's debut in ECW, which is outstanding. Yes. So he debuts as D-Von Dudley.
Real quick, Oracle, before you do that, Bobby, do you know like the original like Dudley? Like it wasn't Bubba and D-Von. Do you know like the original story of the Dudleys?
No.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, Oracle, you want to take that?
So you could probably I watched this, but I can't remember. So Bubba was Big Dick was one of them. Bubba was another one.
It was a wrestler, right, who went from territory to territory.
Yeah, it was this territorial wrestler who just had kids all over the place.
That's what you were getting to.
Yeah, it was Dances with Dudley, Dudley, Snot Dudley, Sign Guy Dudley, Big Dick Dudley.
Dudley, God, he was terrible.
And then like D-Von, yeah, he was a big fella. But D-Von was like Spike was also there, obviously too. Yeah. And then D-Von was one of the last to come along. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Oracle, take it away.
So Massacre on Queens Boulevard from '96, which I believe is yes, that is the Lost Battalion Hall show. It is the simultaneous debut of the original FBI, which is JT Smith and Little Guido, and they team up. And I'm jogging my memory a little bit here, but I always like to tell the story. But it's them against the Dudleys, and I think it's Big Dick and Bubba versus JT and Guido. D-Von comes in and interrupts this match and does his "Thou shalt not do this. Thou shalt not fuck with the Dudley Boys." And he yells on the mic. And JT Smith is incredible here. Does this thing, and I'll never. It's one of my favorite moments at ECW ever. He gets on the mic and they start talking shit. He and Guido start talking shit after the Dudleys leave. And JT gets on the mic and goes, "I'm going to kick his friggin' ass." You know what I'm saying? And D-Von and Bubba come back out and they all, Big Dick and all, they all beat the shit out of the FBI again. It's legitimately, there's only so many months before it, probably vanishes forever, but go on Peacock. I'm pretty sure Massacre on Queens Boulevard might be on there. Watch this. It's the opening. I think it's the opening match of the night. It's an absolute blast. But it serves as D-Von Dudley's debut in the gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
There's also Chubby Dudley, who I believe that became Joel Gertner. But like you can find like Joel Gertner with long hair and tie dye. My
God, the character you're talking about. On that aforementioned documentary, D-Von says that the frame of reference Paulie gave him was a combination of Samuel L. Jackson from Pulp Fiction and Mr. T. And so,
wow.
And in the, very different vein, it's funny the story about, like, he didn't have a name yet for what Dudley Bubba was going to be. And Bubba's like the one name I never wanted to call Bubba, because Bubba is like the ultimate, big lad name, and it is. Yeah. It's like, and he just off the top, let's just call him Bubba. It is insane. I do think, and again, this doesn't mean you have to like their work. I do think that's a really important starting point, what we just talked about with the Dudleys gimmick, because like, it is legitimately insane that ridiculous comedic idea of this Dudleys family turned
allegedly it came from the mind of Scott Levy.
Well, there you go. And it turns into a team that if you just polled an arena of fans might actually win like their vote for the best tag team ever. Again, we don't agree with that. My point is, whatever way you cut it, that is an insane success story, It's
not going to come up again, I think, really at any point. So I just wanted to call it now. One of the things with Bubba when he first started the Dudleys, the big thing was the stuttering gimmick. He would go out and they tried that when they first started the WWF, and it seems insane that Vince didn't cling to that immediately, because that seems like right up Vince's alley,
Dude, we'll get to it, but like you alluded to earlier, the start of their run in the WWF is like, they did well to survive. Like if you just even watch their debut angle, it just feels like they don't fit at all at first.
Don't they come out like 2x4s?
Yeah. And they get very like minimal reaction. They just like walk out and shoot an angle, and the commentators, it's the Dudley Boys. Like it's.
I remember their first pay-per-view, Survivor Series 99. What happens is they're just there for Bradshaw to hit him in the head with a chair as hard as he possibly can.
All right, this sounds more disparaging than I intended, but the thing about the Dudleys, like the more you kind of understand their career, I really feel like this is a thing that if you played out these guys' careers 100 times, like I think they hit the jackpot. And I don't mean that sounds like more dismissive of their talent than I intend, but dude, there's so many moments there it feels like things could have just fell apart, and they just kept rolling. So I mean, it is what it is. Big love to our guy Jack, new member, LNG Gold. Welcome aboard, brother. We have a lot coming up. Tomorrow, we have some WCW Lives, and we have the Fantasy Football Draft, which I know you fellas are... it's going to be streamed. I'm not sure everyone's going to be on, but it's going to be streamed nonetheless. So I'm sure that'll be a tasty affair, no doubt. Thank you, Jack. Welcome aboard. Appreciate you. All right. With that groundwork laid, let's get started, fellas. November to remember. November 16th, 1996. Bubba Ray Dudley versus D-Von Dudley. Until the stuff they did much later, obviously, like kind of a significant match historically because of the tag team run ahead of them. The match itself is pretty standard fare, but there is a great deal of violence nonetheless, because that is what standard fare meant in ECW. Contrarian Alex, what did you make of our first match?
Yeah, we get pre-pay-per-view ECW Rhino, that nasty fucking ring that they had. And man, I can't remember who does it, but they do a superplex at one point in this match, and that ring does not budge. It looks like the old 89 WWF ring that they're working on there. I mean, they might have peaked early here. Bubba busts out this sweet bulldog at the beginning. Looks like that that shit Alundra Blaze and Bull Nakano used to do. It you don't expect it coming from these two guys.
Right.
There's someone's like mom in the front row when they're fighting, and she's just standing there like, ew. And you know, when I was younger, I really romanticized the idea of going to like an ECW show or a CZW show at that arena, and like before the gentrification, because now it's not. I watched that AEW show the other night. I'm like, all right, that's not the same thing. Yeah. But like now, as an adult, I cannot imagine one taking myself there, and then two taking like someone who I care about there. This woman's just like standing there, like doesn't know what to do. This poor woman, the things she heard and saw that night. What else do we have here? Bubba shockingly does the Cactus Jack bump over the guardrail. He gets Irish whipped into it and takes it hip first and flies over. Your enjoyment of this may vary, but I am a pervert, so we get some unbelievable unprotected chair shots to the head in this match. Yep. And they're not even with the steel chairs that give. They're those plastic chairs, so they just are molly-whopping the fuck out of each other. Some pretty standard ECW crowd brawling. I do like Bubba's power bomb that he tries to hit here because it's he can't get him up, so it looks like shit in the end because he just has to like fucking hoof him over. The ref is terrible in this match. I can't remember that dude's name, but he was one of the guys that wanted to wrestle in ECW, and they had him as a ref for quite a while. He has a famous shot in Beyond the Mat of his face, like watching as the pay-per-view is about to go off the air, and he's all like concerned and shit. Look, this match is what it is. The finish of this could not have looked any prettier, dude. I had a friend named Ben Malenfant when we were kids and played No Mercy. He'd love to be Bubba Ray because if you got your special and did the Irish Whip special, he would do that. And he always referred to it as the self 3D. But what it is you basically throw a guy up for a flapjack and you catch him with a cutter on the way down. And you can tell by the way the crowd reacts, they hadn't seen him do that before. And then also, it's just beautiful. And D-Von is a far cry away from the shape we would see him in later matches in this here. So the fact he gets up so high and takes that, it looks great. And then the post-match brawl is what it is, but Bubba Ray hits a drop kick, which I popped huge at that. I think this is a necessary inclusion just for the story we're telling here and having fun with. But yeah, as far as the match goes, it's got a couple cool moments, and yeah, I would recommend checking out the finish at least.
The finish was one of those things that would be clipped up far more regularly if people liked Bubba, because it is actually very impressive. Like the timing is like what you can tell.
We don't talk enough about Bubba Ray Dudley, GIF.
That would be a lot, wouldn't it? Like, yeah. Bubba was a demon back then.
That's Hogan's step over armbar in Japan. Yeah. That would be that for Bubba Ray.
Yeah. Bubba used to hoop in the ECW. At Manny the Hooper. But yeah, it's standard stuff, but it is executed with a lot of enthusiasm and oomph because both guys are trying to make their mark, right? And D-Von does pop, man. Like he gets genuine heat because the idea was he was frustrated with the antics of the other Dudleys. Right? That was the idea of his, and the people, he gets the D-Von sucks and all that good stuff, and it's a pretty good time, Bobby. What did you make? Because I presume you'd never seen this before. Am I right?
I had not ever seen it. That's correct. I'm glad we included it. Alex kind of hit the big notes where, I liked a couple of the guardrail things. I like the chair shots, the crowd brawling, a lot of crowd brawling in these 6 matches that we picked. Good stuff. And yeah, the finish, like it did catch me out of nowhere too, because I had never seen him do anything like that. And it's just like, oh, holy shit, that's basically what they did WrestleMania 31 in the opener. That's where they got it from.
Wow. That was quite the pull there. Did you just accuse Randy Orton of stealing something from Bubba Ray Dudley live on Late Night Grin?
He would love to hear that too. He was a big Bubba Ray fan.
Big fan, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Gonna get that in the right hands, folks. Just bear with us. That'll be making the rounds no sooner than tomorrow morning, I'm sure. Anyway. The chair shot, as you said, is hilarious. It is cool to see them do like the tag offense without knowing it's going to be the tag offense. Like D-Von does the diving headbutt, right? It's like, you piece it together. Oracle, did you enjoy this?
Yeah, they have a bunch of matches together in like '96, early '97 before they joined forces at Crossing the Line again in February '97, and turned heel and whatnot. But this is a lot of fun. The only thing that I do want to point out is, was that a tennis racket that Bubba broke over D-Von's head? What was that he broke over his head?
So Joey
sign guy
Styles
signed, I think.
Yeah, Joey Styles said it was a sign, but I will concede it didn't look like one at all.
No,
it looked like a tennis racket.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. Yeah. But yeah, this is kind of most, the famous is or the finish is what this match is most known for, and kind of the typical ECW post match. But yeah, this is just kind of a good snapshot of how they first kind of interacted. They had this long feud, and I think it's a really good sort of look into what we got before they actually became the Dudley Boyz that we know.
Right, and I would like to know. I'd be really intrigued if you checked in with people that consider big Dudley's fans that have the vintage shirts, and you said to them, "Was there any other members of the Dudley's family?" I honestly think the majority would go, "Nope." It was Spike. They would say Spike.
Yeah.
They'd say, "Yeah, it was Spike." Any others? Nope. Like, I'm convinced that would be the case. It's just, it's been lost to time, and I guess that kind of tells the tale in itself. But nonetheless, have you guys ever seen the first 3D from what is that show called? Maybe it's Crossing the Line, maybe? Is that a show, Oracle? Crossing the Line 97?
Yeah, Crossing the Line again, February '97.
I
they
wish
do it on
I sent
Spike,
it to
right?
you guys. Dude, they kill him. Like, Bubba comes down early, so he basically takes like a jawbreaker on Bubba's shoulder. It is horrific looking.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And it kind of gives you perspective on like how much timing is needed to make it look as easy as they eventually do. Because eventually, we did One Night Stand a few months ago. They get Bischoff from one of them, and it looks like falling into bed, right, by the end of it. But like, that's 10 years later. So that was worth noting. The turnaround is quick here. I mean, Barely Legal, April 13th, 97. So it's like, this is their first title round, I'm correct in saying, right? Coming to a close here at Barely Legal. And all of their title rounds in ECW are brief. This one is the same. They won the straps on March 15th. They beat the Eliminators. This is the rematch. Alex, I think most people know, but I think it's always important to kind of add this context. The significance of Barely Legal, beyond the obvious of the pay-per-view debut, just like the way what this meant to the wrestling scene and ECW in particular, Alex. Go for it. And then bleed into the match when you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I did tell the boys I wanted to do an Eliminators match, not necessarily for quality, but just because they were kind of one of the feuds. And with Peacock and whatnot, we probably could have done a Gangsters match, but, I feel... and with the Barely Legal thing, it's important to bring up that the first thing you see besides Joey Styles is the Dudley Boyz walking in the ring. So, like, the idea that was hinged on him. So, to your original question, though, Joe... that I've said this before on here, and I say it on Twitter all the time. When any time people say it's just like ECW, I go, no, it's not. Like, it's for those who don't know, ECW was working to get on pay-per-view, but it was a much different game than it was in 2018 when Ring of Honor was able to get all in on pay-per-view. There was all the controversy about the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and because of the reputation ECW had, Direct One, I can't remember the name of the pay-per-view provider, but they thought that ECW was real. It wasn't like WCW or WWF, and that these guys were really killing each other and shit. And so that there was the trepidation about that. But then I do remember the guy's name, whoever he was, like the head of it. His name was Hugh Pinero, and somehow ECW's fans got a hold of his email address and his phone number, and just started like fucking blowing him up. Like, and this isn't Paul E doing this. This is all grassroots shit. So don't bring me this. It's like ECW stuff, and that for better or worse. But anyway, it's really hard to quantify, or there's really nothing to compare it to, especially in an age right now of streaming where every wrestling show that happens is available to watch live, and I mean that like down to your local flea market. And so it's hard to really be analogous to anything recent that like younger fans could relate to, but this was like a real opportunity for there to be a third brand, and then for 3 years there was. And I know it by this point Bischoff had clearly taken notice of ECW and had come in and taken some people, and it's left out of all of Heyman's versions of history, but Vince helped finance this. And if you are a longtime ECW fan, or for example, the match we just covered was what, Joe, like 8 months prior to the Barely Legal? Like,
dude, it's less than that. It's like 5. Yeah.
So I'll tell you this: they're two different looking buildings, because that's the whole thing. Vince sent down some people to paint the entire building and to pipe and drape it, because I think his mentality was, God damn it, if my money's involved, at least it's not going to look like shit. And so, if you've never seen Beyond the Mat, I think it does a pretty decent job of explaining the significance and the importance of this first pay-per-view, Barely Legal. And while not the best wrestling show, and certainly not the best pay-per-view ECW ever did, it's so important to not just 90s pro wrestling history, but just at large. Because, you can do the butterfly flaps and swing things. The Barely Legal never happens. Maybe like Ring of Honor never happens. Maybe All In never happens, and all that shit. So it's a real, like, the way I've always put it is, it's not the greatest wrestling show of all time, but if there was ever like the equivalent of a Criterion Collection for wrestling, the first wave that came out, Barely Legal, would be one of the shows. Like, it's just and I could write the essay explaining why it belongs in there, and its importance to wrestling history. So we start with the Dudley Boyz. It's the first thing we see. They come out here, and my brothers, could this wrestling ring be any more mic'd? Like, they just walk into it, and
it sounds like I understand I'm the only person this will help, so it doesn't help anyone. When TNA was in the pandemic and there was not one fan in the building, it would actually be uncomfortable to watch their shows. It'd be like, I need to turn this thing down, bro. I've got Matt Striker on commentary, and the ring sounds like that. Jesus, it's a lot. It's insane, the sound, yeah. And
then the Eliminators come out, which I think me and Oracle are big fans of the Eliminators. I don't know how much Joe likes them, because they are.
The Eliminators are fucking awesome, dude. They're feud with RVD and Sabu, the fucking ladder matches and shit,
where they're just like basically trying things in the middle of the match. They're like, well, let's see if this works. They come out looking resplendent in their matching pink and white gear here, and like Joe, you just want me to go ahead and go through my thoughts on the match?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Look, they there was going to be a lot of people that this was their first time ever seeing ECW, and this match is essentially an exhibition of what the Eliminators can do. They do the part of the Dudleys come out and get the crowd kind of riled up, and they want to see them get their asses kicked. And the Eliminators come out, and then for the 7 or 8 minutes that this match lasts, it's an exhibition of what they can do. Which, to be truthful, that may not. I don't know what Dave gave it, but this is like your chance to hook people.
It's the right match. It's the right match.
And seeing John Cronus, who's 6'4", 250, doing a fucking Sasuke special in the opening match, that's like, well, hold on. And honestly, WWF was about to catch fucking fire in 97, and WCW had a lot going on. But still, that total elimination they hit on Joel Gertner at the end of this, they kill him. And you're not seeing anything like that on Monday nights on TV, dude. So it's a great opener. And the tandem offense, your mileage may vary, as our fearless host would say. But I do think one thing you have to give a shout out to, Joe. We get a Twisted Bliss tribute here, a dual Twisted Bliss.
We do. I was wondering how it would work an Alexa reference in, but Perry made it easy for us, bro. Easy.
Perry Saturn he had one of the best top rope elbow drops ever. Like, he would jump and just lock the position and come back down. It was so good. An exhibition is what I have in the notes here. Fortunately, we're visiting Joey Styles for the last time on this show as he screeches out, "They got him!" at the end of the match, and then hits us with total elimination, which is just it's a bit much to ask. But I'll go ahead and kind of start my thesis here, because this is something that my compliment for the Dudley Boyz. I think with a couple other considerations, you don't have to say they're the greatest tag team of all time, but I think the Dudley Boyz are right up there as arguably the greatest opening act in wrestling, because heel or babyface, they will get, look at the way the crowd reacts when the match is over. Like everyone just throws their arms up and goes fucking nuts. And the next match one of the next matches we're going to talk about is the same thing. They get like 5 minutes to work and they get the crowd in a fever pitch just by the end of it. So I think it was the right move to start the show with this. And I think it historically a good inclusion for the lineup.
I'm a big fan of the idea of like a wrestling booker having his own sort of system, you know. The Dudleys may not be the right team for a system that wants the tag team champions to put in 25 minutes and have a 2 out of 3 falls classic. But to Alex's point, they might be the perfect team when you want to have, 7 minutes in the opener, get them hot and get them moving like that. You want different things for different teams, right? And I think in that way they were kind of perfect for their era. The Oracle of Wrestling. What did you make of this one?
What a coward.
Yeah.
So yeah, this basically is like Alex put it, an exhibition, but it's like the perfect type of opening match you want to have for like everybody to introduce to the pay-per-view. So you get like the heat with like Gertner and the Dudleys in the pre-match, and then they just get their ass kicked for 7 or 8 minutes, and like the Eliminators hit crazy awesome shit. Brief side tangent. The Eliminators have awesome feuds with the Pitbulls, Gangstas, RVD Sabu, and the Dudleys. And
they have that awesome cage match with the Gangstas.
Dude, the Gangsters feud is awesome just because their angles are great and their brawls are great. The matches aren't even that good, but like they had one angle where they did like the total elimination with the chairs on New Jack or whatever, where they like.
Who did they? Was it in the RVD Sabu match? It was New Jack that they taped the tables to,
yes,
and then gave the total elimination.
That's what I was thinking of. Thank you. Yes, the tables is what I was thinking of. Yes, thank you. Yeah, where they taped the tables and they did the total elimination. Yeah, the Eliminators are fucking awesome. And then
John Cronus was never scared to go from New York to Los Angeles with that razor either, man. He was,
there you go.
Yeah.
And during the Pulp Fiction segments, they would just have like Saturn would like sputter crazy stuff, and like John Cronus would like unironically like act like a complete lunatic. It fucking ruled. Yeah. This is just a lot of fun to watch the Eliminators kick the Dudleys' ass. And of course the Gertner stuff at the end was entertaining, and him eating shit big time on that total elimination. Yeah, this is a lot of fun, and is a great example of how good the Dudleys could be in like 5 to 12 minutes, and just kind of getting their stick in, and like getting the crowd riled up, as Alex says.
For sure, I would agree. Bobby, would you agree? And in addition, do you have any advice for someone that's enjoying this show so far?
Yeah, if you're enjoying the show so far, you go ahead and smash that like button. I haven't come up with anything new yet. I've been working on it.
That was good though. That was like really enthusiastic, big smile.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
As far as the Dudleys being just great opening match wrestlers, yeah, absolutely. And, good, 10-minute match wrestlers, all that. My big takeaway here, though, was like the Eliminators were fucking awesome. I don't think I'd seen them a whole ton before this, and just everything they did just had me going crazy.
So, like, where would you trace the line in terms of, because I feel like their influence on tag team wrestling in the States is probably a little bit understated historically, because obviously now, like, the way that the tandem offense works now is very much just, every team does these sort of intricate, and not to say tandem offense was invented by the Eliminators, but like the kind of sequence stuff. Would you guys agree that they were like at the forefront of that at the time?
Oh yeah, like you can the line, as you said, you can trace to like the Backseat Boys with the dream sequence and stuff like that, and like that's obviously something. The Backseat Boys laid the groundwork for a lot of what tag teams are still doing today, like the modern style and whatnot. So
the Hardys, of course, obviously, modernized it a lot too with their stuff.
it's a hard thing to explain because, like, again, tandem offense, nothing to do. It's more the sort of like the simultaneous stuff they do, right? Like the synchronized things they do. But I agree with you completely. I mean, more than anything, it's a showcase, and it's a perfect way to start the show for the people that love ECW because the heels are getting their ass kicked. But for someone that's never seen ECW, it's like, holy shit, right? I think that is, to be completely honest, it'd be an understatement to say it's a lost art. Like, producing things that can serve both your actual audience and people that have never seen before is a really particular balance to strike. And I think we have gotten very bad at that in professional wrestling over the last decade or two. But yes, very interesting stuff. Before we move on from out of ECW here, do we have any other matches we want to call out? I'm not super familiar with ECW stuff, and what I've seen isn't really for me. What matches would you guys like to call out for the duds?
Let's see. I mean, obviously the main event of Heatwave 98. Heatwave 98, for those who don't know, is basically ECW's X7. It was the Dudleys against Spike, Dreamer, and Sandman. And it's exactly the match you would think it is, but it's a spectacle nonetheless. One of their last matches they had with Spike and Balls, I believe that was in Toledo, Ohio, where the famous double flaming tables. Spike goes through 2 flaming tables. It was a match that was on the ECW Hardcore Revolution VHS that I got for Christmas in, I believe, the year 2000, and so I watched that match approximately 700 times. Yeah, you know, the Heatwave 99, if you're up for what that brings, that's a pretty famous segment to watch. There's like this impromptu match between Bubba Ray and Tazz at Hardcore Heaven 99 that they both just go like 5-alarm blade job in it, and it's actually pretty fucking wild. And then they came back in 2001 or maybe late 2000 and teamed with Tommy Dreamer at the Elks Lodge to wrestle C.W. Anderson, Simon and Swinger, I think. And the big thing was they put Dawn Marie through a table, and Tommy Dreamer did the worm in the match. So, yeah. It's look, I think they're more. I believe the Dudley's more refined work is going to come in Act 2. A lot of the ECW stuff was crowd brawling. It was a lot of swearing, a lot of blood, a lot of fucking tables and shit like that. And I could see some people hating the Dudley act if they're watching from a modern perspective, because it's no joke. Like, their segments before matches would sometimes take 20 minutes. They would come out, they'd run down the crowd. Gertner would introduce them. He had like this whole fucking rigmarole he would go through with them. But if you're going to complain about that, then I don't want to hear you talk about Roman Reigns and Bronson Reed getting an entire hour to start off a pay-per-view. So,
have you ever seen their like farewell for the house when they leave and they say goodbye after their last match? Have you ever seen that? It's on the Blu-ray.
No, that's after they lose to Raven and Dreamer, right?
It's the most Bubba. It's like 25 minutes long.
Good old Ian Rotten style promo.
It just so happened my brother and I were watching it, and Mama Holbert was like there when we were watching it. We were talking about something, and she was like, "Bubba's a big fan of this. Big fan of himself." And I was like, "Yeah, it's kind of the thing." He literally talks. D-Von has maybe 2 words, and he's like, "Thanks everyone. It's been a pleasure. See you on down the road."
Just a call in the chat from Don't Have an Ant. That is correct. Axel Rotten called out of that show, and that's how mass transit got figured into that. And then if you've seen it, you know what happens. The thing I always remember from the rise and fall of ECW is D-Von said he looked like Ralph Cramden. Like he was like, who the fuck is this guy? So
this situation got pretty messy, right? Because the story I think is that didn't they take a 3D and then just like get up afterwards and start working the crowd, and they went back to the ring and it turned into a bit of a situation, is my memory. Is there any other lore to that, Alex, that you're aware of?
It's just kind of, that was Public Enemy. I believe that was after their, it's either after or before, it was after their failed run in the WWF, and they had just a chip on their shoulder. And I think I said on our which episode was it? We did something where we were talking about Paulie's greatest achievements, and I think Public Enemy is up there because, God bless them both. I hope they're in a better place, but neither of those guys were really in a position to think that they were fucking, Dynamite Kid or some shit like that.
Indeed. The Oracle of Wrestling, is there any matches you want to call out, mate?
Yeah, I'm trying to find a list of stuff from an ECW project many years ago. I believe they have a match with PG-13 that is like fucking awesome.
Yes.
That's like absolutely tremendous. Legitimately one of the best ECW tags like ever. I really wish I could find.
Was that Hardcore Heaven 97?
Perhaps. Yes, I think that might be Hardcore Heaven 97, but I feel like they had another one that was on like a house show somewhere.
That's when they had Jenna Jameson with them. Was that Hardcore Heaven 97?
Yes. And they also have some other really good matches on house shows. Like they have like I think it's with Spike and Mikey maybe, that they have some really good matches there with them. But yeah, like they actually have like several really good house shows. I just can't make out all the matches because I haven't seen them in so long. But there is I feel like, because I know the PG-13 match from Hardcore Heaven, and maybe I'm thinking of another PG-13 match. You know what? I might be thinking of PG-13 versus Mikey and Spike, which is must-see, and I'm like conflating those. But I do remember the Dudleys having like a couple of really good...
Like hidden gems on house shows?
Yeah.
Grin Grappler, Jamie Dundee coming soon.
There you go.
Hey, I'm down. The ECW thing is... I think at this point, there's very little left to say about ECW and so on and so forth. And everyone that was involved in ECW has had their chance to speak on it, and for whatever this is worth, for some this will be a negative, for some it's a positive, but I do believe it to be true. I don't think there are many ECW guys that those three letters meant more to than the Dudleys. I'll say that. And I would say I'll go a step further. Of guys that achieved the success they did, I think them and Van Dam are like... I mean, I think they're distant because, let's be honest, and with all respect to Tommy Dreamer, who is still floating around and doing stuff in TNA, I understand why ECW means a lot to Tommy Dreamer. There's not, he didn't work WrestleMania, right? Which is fine. But the Dudleys, as we're going to get into, they have like classic WrestleMania matches. And you can tell ECW always meant a lot to them, and One Night Stand was kind of living proof of that. And so as a result of that, when they talk about not wanting to leave, I think there's probably truth to that, right? The story was that they just like told Paul, this is what Vince is offering us. Can we... Because they just got the TV, right? The premiere... Am I right in saying the premiere on TNN is them dropping the straps to Raven and the returning Raven and Dreamer, I think. Returning Raven alongside Dreamer, I think.
It's one of the first episodes because the first episode infamously, Heyman did a clip show.
That's right. Yeah, the first like real, the taping. That's at Elks Lodge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something worth watching. But if someone's watching this and has never seen ECW... quietly, if you've never seen any of it, I actually think a very palatable way to get the vibe is to actually watch the TNN run. I think you actually get a good idea of like, and then obviously work backwards because that isn't the prime stuff, but I think that stuff is underrated.
I really like ECW from like 99 to middle of 2000. Yeah. I think it's quite good.
I think it's underrated because people just sort of paint with broad strokes, right? And just like, it sucked by then. It didn't. Yeah.
And
then
in fact, the in-ring's really good. The booking issues are a problem in 2000, I think.
Yeah.
Where like the height of ECW's booking is like late 94 to like the middle of 97. But in terms of in-ring, 99-2000 is like the best ever in the history of ECW. Because it actually like it's not stuff that's like there's so many things you could point out like flaws from like the 94 to like 98 stuff or whatever. 99-2000 it just like has like you could turn it on today and be like, oh, that was good. Whereas like the mid 90s stuff is kind of you really need to watch things weekly to get like the detailed booking of Paulie and to understand the pops and stuff like that. It's not something you can jump right into like you can in 99 and 2000. That's just a random aside on ECW.
No, I'm with you. And I think the episode with their last match, I think may have like a Tazz Tajiri match, I want to say. I know it's on that taping. I don't know if it's on that episode. I think it is. But yeah, that's stuff that's worth looking at. As we said earlier, their WWF run gets off to a pretty shaky start. They have a very weak debut. The kind of vibe and aesthetic that become, their thing did not particularly translate, I think it's fair to say, to that setting.
Bubba was still wearing the Confederate flag bandana and shit, and it was just kind of like the WWF crowd's like,
Yeah.
Known classy folks, the WWF crowd, but
Yeah.
I've heard like different stories from from Bubba himself about why they changed the look. I've heard him tell the story where it was Vince that just told them to do it, and I've heard another time where they came up with it or something, because of course, I don't know what's true. Well,
yeah, it basically was overnight. They were wearing their indie gear, and then the next day they had like WWF gear.
Yeah, and I don't think it's I don't think I'm talking out of turn to say that the look we're referencing, the WWF look, is the one that they're known for, right? I'm not crazy here, right? Yeah.
You know who had a problem with that though?
I do know. In fact, I think we should have a tangent about that, because let's talk about the response from a certain aforementioned ECW wrestler to that new look. Alex, tell us about that.
Oh yeah, he was not happy. They stole his camo. He was not happy about that. He was not happy about how their theme song got the screeching open, kind of like the gunshot going off at the beginning of Natural Born Killers. And then, if I remember the story correctly, and if I'm telling tales, cut me off. This is where we were in the mid 2000s, early 2000s. The WWF had their superstars record an album called Originals, and where the wrestlers sang songs about themselves. And I don't remember what the line is, but there's some like fucking diss in the Dudleys track where they call out New Jack. And then so, may he rest wherever he is. Jerome Young then made it very clear he was going to murder them if he ever saw them again. Yes.
It is, I don't think this is a surprise to anyone who's unfamiliar with the story that Jack did say some quite extreme things in this time. It's kind of a trademark of his, but yeah,
there's a great, sorry to cut you off there,
no,
Joe,
please.
but in the Forever Hardcore documentary, when they're talking about the Dudleys, there's just this smash cut to New Jack just fucking stone-faced. Bubba and D-Von ain't shit. Never have been, never will be.
We talk about the aesthetic change, but the act transforms, right? The act is, the tables becomes the centerpiece of the act, and all of the different trademarks of their personalities and so on and so forth. The stuttering is no more, all of that. And I think a lot of people wouldn't even realize that some of those things wasn't there in ECW. Like the tables being their thing, for example, with the way that they branded it. Like, it's why, I saw a clip of D-Von promoting Bound for Glory, and he said, "It's the last time we'll ever do D-Von. Where's the get the tables?"
God, that's such a Vince moment in the rise and fall of ECW, where he's talking about because they signed Tazz and Dudley's like at the same time, and he was like, that had to be a blow, Tazz was the human suplex king and all that, and D-Von get the tables. They were synonymous with ECW.
Tremendous stuff. And as mentioned earlier, that 2000 Rumble match with the Hardys, that kind of changes everything, right? And that's the Garden, which I'm sure meant an awful lot. APA kind of get the first crack at the Dudleys, just as they did with Public Enemy, and by all accounts, they held up a little better than those fellas did. And then TLC happens. Alex, how old was you when forget TLC, the Triangle Ladder match. How old would you have been when the Triangle Ladder match happened? And do you have a memory of that, happening?
Yeah, that was, I would have been right about to turn 13. And that was, even as a kid, 99 was a hard year to get through as a WWF fan. And so, the kind of turning point there, and we've talked about this numerous times on Grin Grappler, you can make an argument that 2000 is the best year of product, in ring, as the WWF's ever had, week to week. So that ladder match, I remember I was a big Hardys fan and a big Edge and Christian fan, and the Dudleys I was kind of warming up to them. And that's Man, if I ever had gone into wrestling and they do the talking head, like of me talking about what do you remember that Jeff Hardy getting up on that ladder and they have that huge wide shot and all those flash bulbs going off. And it's not like Jeff Hardy's my favorite wrestler of all time, but that is a moment I remember as being like a kid of like, holy shit, like, kind of realizing the magic that it can be. And some of the shit they do in that match is just crazy. There's like Jeff takes like a 450 onto just a ladder and just like splats on it.
Yes, he does.
And obviously they would up the ante repeatedly after this, but some like just from like a brutality perspective, that first ladder match is fucking nuts, man.
It is, and for better or worse, those matches changed wrestling. I mean, and I say that not to be dramatic, but like, let's be honest, dude. If it's a major show in 2025, 50% chance minimum you're getting a ladder match that's trying to be those matches. Like we had at SummerSlam this year a 12-man ladder match for the tag straps, and who was at ringside? Bubba was there, and was D-Von there too? Mm-hmm. He wasn't he? Yeah, D-Von was there. The Hardys were there. It's become the norm, and that is something that influence is not always necessarily like a pure positive, right? I mean, I think that's become an issue, to be honest with you. I think
there is a whole generation of wrestlers that are like what I said. They got into wrestling, and you ask them, like,
yes,
man, the TLC matches that changed everything for me.
Yeah, and those matches can be thrilling, right? No question about it. But I do think how normal they are now is kind of crazy. A couple photos here that I just wanted to. I think this is great. So this is here's the before and here's the after. Look at this.
No.
Look at that, dude. I mean, is that not with the garden set up in the background there? Look at that. What a beautiful fucking image. D-Von, look at D-Von. Insane scenes. From a match that like changed everything for those guys. We are going to pick up though a little after the WrestleMania 17 take on the TLC. Which do we think that's the best one? I know you said a minute ago that was the most brutal was the original, but like, do we think the ultimate of what they did with the genre was the TLC from WrestleMania 17? What do we think?
Yeah, like if you've seen like the first TLC match at SummerSlam 2000, there's some crazy shit in that match, dude. Yeah. Like they do the Bubba Bomb, that full Nelson driver, like off the ladder. The X7 one is, and this is in a complimentary way, it's the greatest hits, because I think a lot of people don't remember that the big famous spear that Edge hits, they had workshopped that previously. Like they had done another match where they did that spot, like trying to figure out like how it would work, and all the stuff in that X7 match was, you could find them elsewhere, but it all came together and like the perfect crescendo.
The run-ins too.
Yeah,
right?
It was the perfect match for that perfect show. So I think that's like I don't even know where they rate it now when they do the WrestleMania match countdowns, but that's got to be one of the most famous WrestleMania matches ever.
Uh-huh. I would agree. We pick up just after that the beloved invasion angle, our focus. But it's worth noting, I say that with all irony intended, but dude, like, it's easy to forget, right? There's a couple windows in this invasion angle, man. There's a couple. And I know video package, they always salvage, but anyone who's watched this TV knows that when they do that, I need the old Stone Cold. Fuck, man. There's a window there where it's like, it's something. July 22nd, 2001, the Invasion pay-per-view, which did a monster number, am I right in saying? Didn't it do like an incredible buy rate? I think it did.
It did like 750. I think it's still to this day the biggest buy rate for a non-Big Four. That
would make sense. I wonder if, Stomping Grounds 2027 will crack that in a couple of years, I wonder. But we'll see. Our talent, of course, the Dudley Boyz, they're alongside Rhino, DDP, and Booker T, taking on the all-star WWF unit of the Brothers of Destruction, Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle, and Steve Austin. It has to be said, as ridiculous as that lineup sounds, considering this is supposed to be like, this clash of major promotions, and obviously ECW is now the Alliance, all that good stuff. To their credit and the Build's credit, this actually does feel like a major happening at the first part.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's easy to just look at the lineup and be like, what the fuck, bro? Like, how was this the Invasion main event, But, I mean, the people definitely saw it as a big deal.
The crowd is molten for this match, dude. Yeah.
They absolutely are. You get Steph and Paul giving a pre-match speech, which is as ridiculous as you'd imagine. You get the Vince and Austin segment. The Invasion team is hilarious in every which way. Jim Ross really shining up Booker here with he's no Ric Flair, he's no Sting. Tell us about it, Jim. But much happening here. Alex, I know this is a big one for you, but we'll circle back to yourself. Let's start with Bobby on this one. The inaugural Brawl. You've seen this before, Bob, right?
I have, yeah.
Did you like this on rewatch, mate?
This match, I did. I think this match is great. I forgot how long the Dudleys are in this match for. Like, it's probably a half hour. They're probably in it for like 18 of the minutes, one of the two of them.
Yes, they worked really hard in this.
Yeah,
Good call. Wow.
They did, yeah. That was the thing. Like, they really earned it. They were in there. You know, D-Von got put through the table late in the match, and Bubba took some nice stuff. It was them and like Kurt Angle were the three kind of standouts in this match.
Yep, I agree completely. Bubba Ray Dudley is sort of like his team's like glue guy in this, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
But I guess that would be because the WWF guys more familiar with him, Bob, right? Bob, I guess would be the point.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Was
but
you
yeah,
surprised?
no.
Go for it, Bob. Go.
No, the match itself, it's very good. You know, it's not as good as a Survivor Series match, you know, later in the year, but like whatever. It's a great time. It's a really good assortment of talent, and it's a really cool showcase for the Dudleys, which you might not be expecting going into it.
Yeah, I think I like this match. I think it gets a little bit stuck between two matches, Oracle, in that like the build kind of and the name of Inaugural Brawl kind of demands a certain type of match. Yeah. And they kind of flirt with that, but they also have to go half an hour. So for a lot of it, it's like a Survivor Series match, right?
Yeah.
I preferred the traditional match, to be honest. I thought when it was just tags in and out and the guys hitting their stuff, I thought everyone was on point, man. Everyone looked good. Mm-hmm. But they had to do the brawling elements, and the finish is what it is, which we'll talk about in a second. But Oracle, what did you make of this? I'm intrigued.
Yeah. This ended up being a really good match selection because the Duds worked the match so long. And that, I mean, it almost certainly had to be because the Fed guys were so familiar with them. And also, I mean, like they're also tag specialists, you know, kayfabe and otherwise, right? So like they understand how to work the tag match better than some of these guys do probably. So, yeah, this is a really good showing from them. I always like the opening salvo where they're like brawling at ringside and Austin's got like his, you know, just shy of grin on his face and he's like kicking ass and whatnot. Yeah, this is basically just like the Duds doing their thing for like 15 minutes. D-Von does his back elbow, which always pops me, you know, his fucking, you know, spinning back elbow. We get a pretty wild last couple of minutes, which leads to the all-time bad finish.
Yeah.
And like,
bad in concept and execution, I think.
Correct,
you know? Yeah. Because it's really clumsily done too. Like it's just
like it's not like he just comes in and just stuns Angle, right? Like it's not even like a.
It's kind of, and because it's Austin, it isn't even like a dramatic moment because Austin stuns everyone, right? So like it isn't even. I don't know.
And then they have the beer bash at the end. Like I thought he was supposed to be a heel. Like wouldn't he not do a beer bash as a heel? I don't know. The whole thing is just like. Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
When we mentioned the guys being more familiar with the Duds, like, I do think it's important to put over, especially for newer fans, the Dudleys worked with all of the top guys already in the WWF at this point. Like, they would do TV matches with The Rock, with Kurt Angle. Like, that was... I think that probably... Until the Usos a couple years ago, maybe New Day, actually, like... That's not been a common thing in the past 20 years for tag teams, right? Like, tag teams kind of live in their own world, far away from anything of importance. Like, dude, they would have, like, you could just tune into a SmackDown and see, you know, Rock and Kurt Angle versus the Dudleys, or whatever the hell it would be. Like, it was very common, so it does make sense they'd be, you know, kind of relied upon here. So, yeah, interesting. Alex, you've been fighting for this one. I think you may have pitched this for around 17 different Grin Grapplers. I was glad to finally get on here, and we were just saying, like, this really worked out for the Dudleys because they are all over this match.
Yeah.
What did you make of this on rewatch?
Yeah, I know I'd put it out for Booker, but this definitely worked out better for our subject du jour. I always forget this is the old Stone Cold. I watched the video package when they fucking wheel out Blassie to give the troops the big speech. Yeah.
Yes.
And then fucking Stephanie and her shrill, no act of nature, no force of God. You know, whatever she's saying about.
Did you see when Blassie gives the speech, Bob Holly leaps to his feet with a standing ovation? Like,
down.
He didn't even know they were recording that shit, bro. He thought it was a shoot. He thought he was going to have to fight one of these guys.
You know, he's a friend to some, an enemy to many more, but confirmed shoot was at this show, and he was part of the really hot crowd taking part in this. And they buy it as a big deal. This crowd, when people are coming out, they're getting more and more fired up. I mean, it's 2001, so this shouldn't be a shock. But brother Glenn Jacobs is well here. Did you see that dude's arms? Like, good Lord. And our friend Chris Jericho is looking pretty big himself here when he comes out. For all the people involved, this had to be the biggest. This was like the biggest match Rhino had ever had in his career up until this point. So good for him. Retweets are not endorsements. Vince McMahon is very funny, vibing out to Chris Jericho's music when Jericho's walking down and Vince is like bobbing his head. If so inclined, there's an incredible moment at the beginning of the show. The opening match is Edge and Christian against Lance Storm and Mike Awesome, I think. Edge and Christian win, and because the coaches are watching backstage, it cuts to Vince celebrating in his locker room, watching the match, and he goes, "Yes, Edge and Christian reek of awesomeness," and then he starts posing in his locker room like this. It's quite a moment. You already called out. Well, first of all, Booker is the champion, the double champion. He doesn't even come out last for his team. It's awful. And then, yeah, they have the line on commentary just talking about how he sucks. So, you know, it took Booker a little bit it worked out for him in the end, but it took him a while. For all the talk of how bad and damaging the ending of WrestleMania X7 was for Steve Austin, when he comes out here, the reaction, the way the crowd bites for him, they still bought it, man. They still believed in Steve Austin. And I think, unfortunately, history should probably remember that it's the 1-2 punch of X7 and then what happens here. That
I agree.
Is the killer. And Austin could still fucking go here. He gives Rhino a superplex off the top rope at one point in this match.
His work is great in this run, dude. It really is. He was motivated out there.
I'd forgotten, though, just how hot Angle was at this time, because everything he does, the crowd is going batshit for him, man. Like, he gets this monster pop when he comes out, and then every time he gets tagged in, and he has a really, really sharp exchange with D-Von. They have, like, this back and forth in the ring, and that's when Oracle called out D-Von does his Misawa diving elbow with a little spin on the end.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's some really good stuff. And to our other half of the equation, Bubba, there's this part in this, I don't know if y'all saw this, where I think Bubba's getting a little excited, and he's just beating the shit out of Chris Jericho, and Jericho, like, tells him to lay off. Like, you can tell he's kind of, like, pushing him away, trying to get some space and whatnot. Because, I mean, famously, or more infamously, I should say, Bubba can get a little stiffsky in there, and people... there was that kind of famous... I think Dave reported it. The first time that Team 3D wrestled LAX in TNA, it was a sellout at the curtain because the boys wanted to see what was going to happen when Bubba tried that shit with Hernandez. And if I remember correctly, they don't really interact at all in the match because... wherever he may be, Sean Hernandez, I know one thing, he didn't play with that shit. So poor old DDP, man. He was already, the writing was on the wall. And I think it is cool though, because he's trying to do all this shit in this match. Like, he does that spinning Liger bomb at one point, and he does like that Cobra Clutch bomb, and he's just like, God damn it, I'm gonna try. But there's this part where he's about to shoot Taker off, and you know, I didn't hear exactly what they said, but I can hear Taker go, "Huh?" And then he shoots him off, and then they both like trip over each other, and it's like, oh, if DDP had his script to work off of, he would have been all right.
Poor guy. Worst thing he ever did was let them realize how much he wanted to be a top guy up there, dude. They were like, "Oh, we're gonna get a fuck with this guy." Yeah.
I think that's the thing with Booker T is he kind of got there and kept his mouth shut, and they fucked with him bad. It's so funny, dude. Jim Ross just being the all-time greatest ring announcer or commentator in wrestling. When Booker does the spin-a-rooney, Jim Ross starts breaking down how much time he wasted before he went to the cover. It's like he wasted about 3 or 4 good seconds there before he pinned the man. It's so funny. Let's see here. I don't know really much else what we have. By the end, things start breaking down. Lil Nate takes one for the industry with that last ride that he takes. God bless him. When they're setting up the table, this is this thing I caught of Bubba's trying to talk shit to the crowd, and he calls Kurt Angle a pretty boy. And he said, "We got your Olympic pretty boy right here." And Kurt Angle's a lot of things. I never would have thought to describe him as a pretty boy, though. It's not like he's got like fucking Ricky Morton or Jeff Hardy in there or something. So that popped me pretty big. So this match is pretty awesome, and the crowd helps make it seem big, but then the ending is just so fucking stupid. And you can make the argument. Paranoid champion Steve Austin gave us some entertaining segments. It gave us a couple incredible matches, specifically with Kurt Angle at SummerSlam of that year. Mm-hmm. But really?
Yeah.
The WWF WCW show ends with Steve Austin joining WCW. Like
it's
they would have
so stupid, dude.
They would have been better off just DDP or Booker T getting a clean pin over somebody to end the show.
Absolutely.
And but they felt they needed star power in that story. But Steve had such a built-in conflict with WCW, you know? Like it just that sucks.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too. There was so much hype and rumor about this show, about like who's going to show up and whatnot, that I think they just like they worked themselves into this idea of like we got to do something, and that I can't tell you, especially with the lack of people that came over from WCW, I can't tell you the invasion angle was going to work like wholly. But I can tell you they would have had a better shot at pulling it off if they hadn't ended the show like this.
I agree. I do think it's one of those things that if we did a whole show about it, and maybe we'll one day, I don't know, maybe on a rainy day, but I do think with this crew it just wasn't going to be. I really do believe that. I think you could do it better, much better. I don't know, man. They just needed more heavy hitters, didn't they? That's the honest truth. Like it's just...
And one of those Fed docs about it, they have Drew Mack on there talking about like the people that actually came over from WCW in no believable way could beat Steve Austin or The Rock or anything like that, you know. And with all due respect to Sean O'Hare and Chuck Palumbo and all those guys, it's true. I think though they could have figured out a way to bide time until they were able to pick up a lot of the heavy hitters. Yeah, I
agree with that. I think the biggest issue I think people have in hindsight, understanding that is that we all accept Booker T as like a genuine top guy, but Booker T was on top of WCW when it was like it wasn't like having it led by Sting or Goldberg. No. That doesn't mean he's not better than those guys in 2001. He is better than those guys in 2001. But Booker T was on top. I think the 5-time thing really confuses people as to when he was on top of that promotion. Like it was the end, you know, it was the last year. Like, so it's a shame, but
Goldberg, Sting, Scott Steiner, NWO, all those guys still floating out there. Just, but to circle back to The Rock and the Dudleys real quick, one of my favorite Bubba Ray trying to fight someone backstage stories was Jericho and The Rock were going to wrestle the Dudleys on like a Raw or something, and this is kind of leads us into our next match because they had been paired with Stacy at that point, and Bubba was laying out this spot of Dwayne's going to hit the ropes and Stacy's going to hook his leg and he's going to fall and wonder what happens. And the story, the way Jericho told it, I remember The Rock's doing that thing where he's just bouncing back and forth, getting himself warmed up, and he's just staring ahead, and he doesn't even look at Bubba, and he just tells Bubba, that's a good spot, just not for The Rock. And then Bubba apparently had a conniption at this idea of Dwayne rejecting a spot that everyone else would do. So I feel like Dwayne's going to be doing a lot of bouncing over the next 6 to 7 months.
I'm sure he will be. Speaking of such, I do have to, you know, the famed leaping cane lariat, you know, when he comes off the top rope? Yeah. Do you guys see how Bubba took that, where he jumped like he was in a crossbody? Like he just leaps into the air. He, honestly, man, like, his bumping is kind of crazy for a big guy. Bubba could fucking fly on those things. It's quite impressive at times.
He, like you said, his whole thing is commitment to making shit look good, and he gave himself a horrific concussion trying to make a bulldog off a ladder look good one time. And there's a specific sell he does in this next match that's like comical, but you're right. He had ups and could get off his feet when he wanted to and make shit look good.
Indeed, he could. Up next, we have another long time Contrarian Alex highlight. I'm actually because this is a match I genuinely would not have known existed if not for Contrarian Alex. And even after watching it, I get it, but I don't think I fully get the Contrarian Alex lore of this. I'm very intrigued to see where we go on this. This is January 20th, 2002, the Royal Rumble. Spike Dudley and Tazz are the World Tag Team Champions. It's unclear to me why, when, or how that happened, but they were. If you'd have asked me what Tazz did at the 2002 Rumble, I'd have probably guessed he came in 11th and went out before the 13th man was in. But here he is. Yeah. Tag Team Champion. And they are facing familiar foes in the Duds. Alex, I'm going to go straight to you on this. Explain how we got here and explain why we are talking about this in 2025. Explain as much as you can while giving your thoughts on this match. Take it away.
I have no clue how this match came to be, but I know this is one of the matches that I discovered several years ago and has become like to me, a hidden gem. As far as the episode, I thought it was important that Spike is involved somehow. So we get Spike out of the way here. And also, yes, because as a 14-year-old boy, Stacy with the Dudleys was very cool, but also that was a cool act. The Duchess of Dudleyville, and like they looked cool together and whatnot. And so, and also it feeds into my narrative of the Dudleys being a fantastic opening act for a show because they can get the crowd off their feet and going. To be honest with you, a big thing of this is the Tazz performance in this match because his confidence was done. Like at this point, he had taken himself off house shows and stuff. And to kind of get to the ending here, the crowd still buys him as a badass, man. And when he gets that Tazz mission on the end and D-Von taps out, they go fucking nuts. And it's, and you can see it all work its way through. There's something a bit romantic about his hot tag in this match because he comes in and he starts hitting these clotheslines. And you'd think we were back in the Omni because the crowd's doing the old WCW thing of the ooh, ooh, ooh when he hits those. And then he kind of stumbles on his first suplex that he hits. But then like he gets to the next one pretty good. And then the last one is that T-bone on Bubba that just looks like we're back in 96 in Philadelphia, brother, with that one. So it's I think it's one of those tag matches that they were told you have 5 minutes, and they figured out a way to have a coherent match while still getting in all that they had. So like an example I always think of is Kane and Bryan against Ziggler and Big E at WrestleMania 29 is a match that they found out they had 6 minutes. And like that match is just like, it doesn't really make much sense, but they do everything that they can in it. This match, they still piece together kind of like a cohesive match here because they immediately take out Tazz, and that leads to Tazz's hot tag eventually. And I did get nervous because I didn't remember if we did some sort of Tazz grabs Stacy and kisses her or something. So I was like, oh no, is this going to be one of those things where like pantses her? But no, like a gentleman, he just puts her in the Tazz mission. You know, I didn't expect y'all to come away saying that, you know, you found some new 5-star match, but I think from the perspective of the story we're trying to tell with the Dudleys here, look at how little they have. We watch this and knowing none of the build really, and I can guarantee you the majority of the crowd didn't really know why this match was happening either. But within that short period of time, they're able to fucking win over the crowd in a way that makes them cheer when they lose because they're happy that these bastards got beat by the underdogs. Like even the acid drop gets a huge reaction. I mean, this match is obviously elevated by how hot the crowd is for it. But it's just great. And like you get a Bubba Ray give Spike this nasty brain buster. And there's a part where Tazz hits a mafia kick on Bubba, and Bubba does like a half flip onto a face bump. It's great. So, in an age where I don't think hidden gems, that phrase is overused, And I'm not going to tell you like you have to drop everything you're doing right now to go watch this match, but I think this is a fun little layover with what the Dudleys were doing. It gets Spike involved, it gets Stacy involved, and
Tazz.
The
Yeah.
Tazz thing. You watch this, and Tazz was doing commentary by what, the summer of 02? Yeah,
spring.
You watch this, and you know how meandering the previous 2 years were for him, and to see the crowd still believe him, you know,
yeah.
Again, not saying Tazz could have been world champion, but there was a guy like that who takes himself as seriously as he does and executes the moves that way that guy does. Yeah, and it has a fucking choke as a finish. The crowd's always going to buy that shit. So, yeah, I enjoy all the aspects of this. It comes together and makes a really enjoyable opening pay-per-view match.
And I do think there's something romantic to the Dudleys bumping around like that for Tazz. He gets this sort of moment, right? I'm with you on that. And appreciate the chat here. They won the straps on the Triple H Raw, you know, the MSG Raw. Where Triple H
beautiful
returns.
day?
Indeed. I do want someone to look this up. This is a heavy request, but I'm throwing it out there for the most ardent grinners. I would like to know if this is the lowest rated match on Cage Match we've used on Grappler. It's definitely not the worst match we've watched, but I'm intrigued because like, this is everything that Cage Match doesn't like in a wrestling match, right? It's like 5 minutes. It's just a match. Like, but I thought, to Alex's point, I was really impressed at how they like managed to still. And I guess it doesn't surprise me because this time 5-minute TV matches were very common, but they still do like maintain a tag structure. Like the Dudleys get a little bit of heat. There is a sign of the self-inflicted wound that they created for themselves in the sense like they get 30 seconds into heat and the crowd immediately hits a "we want tables." Like that would become a real issue for them as heels, which is obviously, you know, their preferred disposition. Take a Bill is the lowest. Good answer. Excellent point. There you go.
Shameful.
Of course, Bill Goldberg would come through for us. Oracle, what did you make of
you would
this?
put a 4.5-star match as a 0.99 on Cage Match.
Flat 3. What did you make of this, Oracle?
I've always liked this match. I think this match is good. Spike gets beat up. Spike's awesome in this, dude. His bumping was insane. He takes a fucking flapjack in this that is like he gets air, and like I'm pretty sure he's taking that flapjack bump against the Dudleys every time he wrestles them, but he just gets air every time. And the way that they shoot it with like him going all the way up, coming down. He also gets tossed to the fucking floor off of the Dudley dog. Tazz's hot tag is awesome. Crowd is super into it. Notice the guy in the front row with a Michael Vick jersey because they're in Atlanta. And that would have been Vick's rookie year, I think, towards the end of his rookie season. But
any update?
Well,
even I know to leave that one alone. Come on now, please. Carry on.
But I just remember that he was on that show with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp before it got canceled or ended or whatever. Sorry. Alex gets me with some shit every damn time.
I've noticed.
But yes, this match is good. I've always liked this match. Like, it's totally a contrarian Alex match, but this is a match that I've always actually enjoyed. Partly because I think I've seen Rumble 02 like 15 times. It was one of those shows that I had on tape that was taped from one of my buddies. It's one of the rare Rumbles I never saw live. My buddy taped it, and he let me have the tape. So I've seen this show many times, and this is a really good opener for sure.
I do want to apologise if our usually pristine audio is being affected some by the thunderous rain that is surrounding me right now. I think the heavens above were not thrilled about this Dudley Boyz show that we have planned. Can you guys hear it, or is it not making it through?
I don't hear it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, so if you do hear something, folks, you'll know it is. I mean, it really is England out there right now, let me tell you. The rain is just, I mean, it's frightening. It's frightening stuff. But nonetheless, Bobby, what did you make of this one, mate?
I thought this match was good. You know, this is what pay-per-view openers kind of were then. It was, you know, give 2 tag teams 7 or 8 minutes to go out there and try and get the crowd going, and some of them were better at it than others, and Dudleys are one of those that were better at it than others. So, it definitely worked. They made the most of their time, and it was fun to watch.
Which others are you referring to there, Bob?
You'd have La Resistance later coming in. They're not very good at it. Caden Murdoch down the line,
Yeah. Let me tell you something, man. It's a shame by the time the Good Brothers got there, all that good match stuff was in vogue. Let me tell you. They 5-minute openers, the big LG would have been in just in the time of his life. Set out power bombs, Oracle. 90 seconds of heat.
Hell yeah.
Hey, listen. I'm gonna say this. This is the highest of compliments I can give this match. I would die to see a fucking 7-minute match this good at fucking opening a damn pay-per-view. Because I'm tired of seeing both big 2 pay-per-views go out there and have 22-minute jerk-off sessions.
Well, the new thing...
Cut the shit out.
The new thing now is, like, they bookend with main events, isn't it? So, like, this is...
agonizing. Give me a fucking
Spike
and Tazz match, please.
I've said this elsewhere. I actually thought it, among other things, I thought it really affected Jay and Gunther. Because being in person at Mania... Dude, when it's a stadium show, you got to give people time to, like, warm up and get used to the fight. It's hard when it's an opening match. That match had other problems. Matches like Bianca, Rhea, and Io, they can just do their fucking thing and they're going to get the match over, right? But, like, considering the Jey Uso thing was built on you need the people hot, we've all been to stadium shows. It takes the people a while to, like, it's different to an arena, right? People just kind of sit there for a bit at the start of those shows. It's a different vibe, so... Yeah, it's a strange one. I don't know. I'm not sure I agree with the psychology behind the opener main event thing they do now, but...
It's what they do.
It is.
I did forget to call out...
Go for it, Alex.
Oh, no, I just looking at my notes here. Another great Jim Ross line is, Jerry Lawler's obviously doing the shit he does where he's just, about Stacy Keibler and, like, has his one-liners. And Jim Ross says, come on, King, you've got crowns older than her.
Incredible. My goodness. Okay. They asked, when are they split? Like May? April?
Yeah.
When's the draft?
Yeah, right after the draft. So March, and then D-Von does some pizza stuff all summer. And then Bubba's the second babyface on Raw, and then they get back together at Survivor Series. Or right after Survivor Series. One or the other.
So...
It's one of those hilarious things of, like, they could tell immediately it was the wrong thing to do. They were like, all right, this isn't going to work. But that's how we got Batista on TV.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I think the idea was, like, they also wanted to get over the idea that the draft anything can happen in the draft. Because that was the first draft, right?
Touché.
Just like,
It was.
I'm not saying it made it right. I'm just saying I think that was part of the, I think, based on how D-Von was used, I think they were pretty aware that D-Von was not going to be like a fucking...
They broke up the APA, too, and that pissed me off as a kid. Because they broke up...
That segment is so good when they like thank each other and they shake hands.
Oh yeah, the APA and they close their door or whatever on their thing.
I think that for part-time teams that you don't necessarily want to have a big feud with, I think they should do stuff like that more often. You should not split teams like the Dudleys, but like when they have these part-time teams and they have to have a fucking 3-month feud afterwards, like just have some guys because then you can always go back to it, right? If you don't do a blood feud, like I would do that with Angelo and Tazz, like have them just go that way. Do we really need to see a 3-month feud between the Street Profits? I certainly don't. I mean, Jesus.
I noticed that shit when they were doing this stuff. Oh, fuck. Don't get me started on this crap.
My bad. Anyway,
right.
They split them up. And so we were talking earlier about singles Bubba. I thought Jim Ross's way of presenting him was godly. When he would, like, he's this blue-collar brawler, he's the man of the people. Yeah. I thought he did okay for a bit. It's just the infamous powerbomb spot, isn't it, where he nearly kills Paul, where his arm gave out, whatever happened to him.
See you later, bub.
Yeah, that was the end of that. Yeah. And of course, they reunite the aforementioned Survivor Series moment at MSG, which is very, very cool.
Is that an all-time WWF pay-per-view?
It may well be.
Yeah.
Survivor Series 02?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a great deal. And then they go into the part of their career that isn't featured in our lineup, but it's probably the part of their career I'm most interested in. I've talked about this with Oracle before. I think the most underrated work of their career happens in the next 2 years, and it's at their lowest point as a commodity. They are ice cold upon reuniting. Like, I think they're great in the famed Survivor Series 03 match. Mm-hmm. They do some really good stuff with Ray and Van Dam. Yes. They have some good stuff with Kidman and London. I honestly believe if you just watch their work, it may be the sharpest they've ever been, because you can tell they know they're not over anymore like they used to be, and they're trying to change that. Unfortunately, everyone remembers, and Bob did it earlier, everyone remembers the Undertaker thing. And look, guys, I'm being completely real. That could have been Dax and Cash, Arn and Tully. It would have been better than what the Dudleys did. It would not have been fucking good. That match was going to be bad. Paul Bearer is in a There was never going to be good. Am I wrong on this? Am I being...
No, you're right.
You're correct.
It was never going to be... It was the main event, dude. It was fucked. It was never going to be... That doesn't mean it couldn't have been better. I'm just saying. I would implore people to look at some of the stuff I just mentioned where they're heels
bad
on
Fed show,
SmackDown.
too, because that's the one that has JBL beat Eddie for the title. And then they fucking ended the show on that concrete crypt match.
That era of SmackDown is insane, and a WWE Vault match that I am dying to see. They run Japan around that time, and they run Budokan. They run JBL and Eddie in Japan, which I would love to see, but they also had the guts. They run back Taker versus the Duds in a handicap match in Japan. And I just need to know how that worked. You know, did it get over? I want to know. So yeah, it's interesting stuff. But I do think, wherever you stand on the Dudleys, one part of their story that I think they are very fortunate gets forgotten. Dude, they are iced. Like, they are put on the bench, and that is the end of their run. That is... Yeah. There are very few acts with their level of prestige, historically, and how much they're celebrated, that have experienced that while being, like, pretty youthful. You know? Like, they are... So what would they be? Less than 5 years into their run, and Vince is pretty much, he's done with them. And I know that they've told it of like, you know, you guys are great. I just need you to go away for a little bit. And it was a Johnny Ace thing. Guys, look, let's be real. Like, that's never been the case. Like, Vince was done with them. That was it. It was the end of the run. Do you think, Bob, it is a little bit like lost time how fucking insane that is? Like, the Dudleys, who are a consensus all-time great team, fair or unfair, were basically just like, yeah, we're done with them now. It's over.
Yeah, no, it's crazy to not even like try and figure out something else with them. And again, yeah, kind of after the Undertaker stuff, they don't do much, and then they show up at One Night Stand. I think they're on like Heat a lot of the time. They're like around, but they're not like obviously featured, you know, like you were saying. And yeah, it was kind of crazy even to watch in the moment. Like, it was like, oh, you know, the Undertaker stuff was bad, but it wasn't, you know, take him off TV. And you know, especially with the tag team divisions on both shows at that point, could have definitely used some help.
This is indeed, there's a story, I forget the full details, but he's explaining to the Dudleys why they can't be on TV, and he says they're the Shawn Michaels of the tag division, and he just needs to find teams for them to work with, and they'll be great when they're back, and they're going to get a new contract. Of course, they're not going to get a new contract. It's over, you know, but like, it's a crazy story. Oracle, what are your memories of that time? Where they're like phased out?
I remember when there were heels, like when they went to SmackDown, there were heels. Had the feud with London and Kidman, and then they just vanished. They just disappear. Like I remember when they were at One Night Stand, it was like cool because like they'd been gone for so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was just. 04, I watched a lot of 04 SmackDown as it aired. And, I don't know. It was just like it definitely felt like they were
like damaged goods almost.
Yeah, damaged goods for sure. I mean, that's certainly how they came across. No question.
This is a little bit of a sidebar, but I think it's an interesting topic. In hindsight, it was actually really important they left when they left, and I think we have had a lot of examples in the last decade of this. The fact they were able to leave before most of the audience noticed that they were actually like damaged goods, as we just said, allowed them to have the return they had 10 years later. There are a lot of acts, and Alex, I'm sure there are a few come mind for you without naming them necessarily. There are a lot of acts that rather than just leave when the run is done, like the way the industry is now, they just stick around forever. and ever and ever and ever. And I think a big part of why 2015 hit for the Dudleys was they left before most of the public realized they'd stopped caring about them. You know, it matters, right?
They didn't have Judas in their mind, man.
Honestly, he's the least, like, he's brought up in the, Matt brings him in the chat, and I'll say this guy because everyone knows I'm a fan. Like, that happened to Dolph, like, 3 times over.
No,
By the time Dolph left, how long is it going to be until Dolph could come back and it would matter? Because, like, he was there for too long, dude. Like, I'll say another example of guys I think we all think a lot of, and a team that stands alongside the New Day. Dude, the New Day's run is like, it's over, man. Like, in that company, you know? Like,
it's over.
It's just, I think there's a lesson in that. The fact that no one even remembers.
The New Day ended when Kofi won the belt. That was it.
That was the mountain top. And I think
that's the thing in wrestling that people can't grasp, and they either can't or they refuse to grasp, is that there are a natural conclusion to some things in wrestling.
Yes. What does Jim Lampley say, Alex? A natural beginning and an inevitable end.
Yeah.
There's truth to that. And I think...
So, I'm looking at Cage Match here, and they work Eminem and OVW in February.
Yes, I was about to get to it. Yes, I've seen this match. I recommend you watch this.
Is it good?
It's cute. It's cute. Very cute. And it's very... It kind of has the vibe... Yes, it kind of... He's on commentary, and it kind of has the vibe of like when the Steiners came and did Smoky Mountain, you know, because they're like obviously big TV stars. But that's their only matches in 2005 until they do like the house shows to prepare for One Night Stand, right? So, it's really cool. Yeah, it's a really cool deal, and they also do like a bunch of things in the match that Cornette fucking hates in his tag matches, which I thought was really funny because you know they put the match together. You can imagine him being like, you know the thing Cornette hates where they did the cold tag when no one cuts the babyface off before he makes the tag. They do that like twice in that match, and I can only imagine Cornette on color just being like, pieces of shit. Anyway. ECW One Night Stand is where they reemerge, as we mentioned, and I think even if you fucking hate the Dudleys, there is something to admire about their performance on that show, which is like, dude, on a show where some of the guys that had made a lot of money, you could tell felt differently to like how Sandman and Tommy Dreamer felt, right? Like Ray, and I think it's beast what Ray did, but Ray basically was like, I'm going to do the Ray Jr. act as it is now produced. Like, I'm going to do the 619 because that is what I do now. The Dudleys are like, fucking, they embrace that setting and then some, don't they? And we recently watched it, Alex, on the Grin Along.
Oh, yeah.
That match is fucking awesome on One Night Stand, the Dudleys match, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, both Bubba, like, they're both in crazy. This is when D-Von was really starting his fucking, like, brother push in terms of, like, we'll see in the next match. We're going to talk about how fucking jacked he would end up getting. But Bubba's in crazy shape. And then, like, yeah, it happens in wrestling, man. It's some dudes will just show up some nights, like, just super motivated, do all they can. And, like, that match fucking rules, man.
It does. I've seen them both say that's the highlight of their entire career, being in the ring for Sandman's entrance, and I believe that, actually. I think that did mean a lot to those guys. It's a great moment. It's their
last moment. If only Hack
moment.
could remember it.
Indeed, it's the last moment of their run. They are headed elsewhere. Before we get to that, what other matches we want to call out here from this first WWE run? We've already mentioned Survivor Series 03, of course, which they're a part of. Mentioned the TLC matches, One Night Stand. Any other stuff I want to call out? I think there's a 6-man where they team with JBL on 04 SmackDown. Oracle, you might have seen this. There's a 6-man with JBL, I want to say.
Is it against Eddie, Ray, and...
it might be. Yeah, and I think, like, one of the, maybe Eddie's a late addition. He gets hurt before or something. But they do so, but it's a good match. I remember watching it recently,
It's nothing blow away, but it's a fun little, we're talking about fun little quick opener. They team with Spike and their heels against London, Kidman, and Rey Mysterio to start SummerSlam 04. The TLC match where Bubba teams with Spike, so Devon's not in it, but the Raw one where he does get that horrendous concussion. That match is fucking great.
This match rocks. Jericho and Christian, great shot.
Yeah.
Alex, sorry. Yeah.
No. That's accurate. Yeah, I mean, there's got to be more, like, they have to have been involved in, like, some Survivor Series matches that we're not thinking about, but yeah, they
have a bunch of good TV matches in 2000, 2001, honestly.
Yeah, I like the cage match at Survivor Series 01.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. The evolution stuff, some of that's good. Yeah.
The touring tables match that we covered on the Shane McMahon Grin Grappler.
Indeed. Yeah, that was fascinating, wasn't it? This, perfect example. SmackDown match with Rock and The Undertaker.
I think we kind of stressed this point earlier. The invasion angle, might have killed the business for 20 years, but you can watch any TV show during that period and find a good match, and I'm pretty sure the Dudleys were involved in a good amount of those.
Oh yeah. Oh, the 4-way tag from Unforgiven 01, the elimination tag, that match is good. It's the Duds versus Hurricane and Storm versus the Hardys versus who's the fourth team? Is it Big Show and Spike?
I'm not sure I've seen this.
So another Contrarian Alex special also that I have to call out is the opener from Unforgiven 02. D-Von's not involved in this, but it's Kane, Goldust, Booker T, and Bubba against the Un-Americans. That match fucking rules.
That's at the height of the blue collar presentation. Great shout there. Rumble opener 01. That's another Grin Grappler match. That match is a big one for Alex's opening match argument. I think it's fair. That might be the crown jewel with that argument. Actually, that match is very, very hot. Saturn and Slaughter Heat January 2002.
It's disappointing, but it is cool to see them watch wrestle. I've seen that match. Yeah. Wrestle Sarge.
There you go. They then go into the part of their career that historically is referred to as Japan and other organizations, I believe, is the canon reference. Now, of course, TNA is part of the family. So I'm sure we can spend far more time talking about the ups and downs of this TNA run. Before we get into that, we do have to stress that, legitimately, the amount of years these fellas put in TNA is fucking insane. Like, D-Von first leaves with a contract dispute in 2012. He has a 7-year run, leaves, comes back immediately for another year or so, and then leaves again. Bubba, if you add up all of his TNA tenures, he has to have done 12 years in TNA, bro. He has to have. Insane. I have no idea if fans most associate them with TNA. I'm going to presume not, but I never know, because TNA, you can tell the generations have now evolved in a way where TNA is viewed differently, right? You can feel that. So, yeah, I don't know. Like Andrew just said, at some point there were probably a group of fans thought of them as TNA guys. That may be the case. I'd actually love to know. If anyone in the chat has any insight on that, please tell us. Alex, you mentioned it earlier. Spike TV. It was a big deal. They were a big acquisition just because of the amount of TV time behind them for the past 5-6 years. They were a big deal. Before we even get into the match, how do you think the results reflected? They were a big deal. They were a big part of that Spike premiere. How would you reflect broadly on the run that we're about to discuss in today? Because I find it hard to put my finger on where I stand. There's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad, I thought. Alex, where do you stand on that deal?
Yeah, and just to kind of pay a bit more credence to your point of the last show they worked for the WWF, they main evented a pay-per-view, and then they showed up on TNA. It's not like they were fucking toiling away or something like that. So, it's hard to say. I don't, they're wrestlers, so they wouldn't be honest about it. But I've always thought that they viewed TNA beneath them when they got there, and that they were very clearly a bit overly protective of their rep and their spot, brother. Which led to things like they had some good matches with Team Canada, but it was always the Dudleys win or a DQ or something like that, And they quickly, into 06, if I remember correctly, at Bound for Glory 06, which was the biggest show they had ever done up until that point, TNA, that is, they're just slotting this random 4-way tag match that they end up winning and whatnot. It felt like it got to a point where they weren't really going to do anything full of direction with them because they didn't know if they would be around or if they could be trusted or whatnot. So it started off kind of strangely. And, as time went on, like we said, they went through this phase of being really particular about what they did and who they worked with. And they tried to really help the Machine Guns. And, they made the huge deal of, was it Shelley that kicked out of the 3D and no one had ever kicked out of the 3D. it's just sadly by that point TNA had fallen so far off of like what their rep was. And to be fair, we're talking about the Dudleys here. TNA's falling off had nothing to do with them. So me like lamenting about them not doing jobs or anything like that. That TNA's downfall had nothing to do with the Dudleys. So that I don't want it to make it seem like that was the case. So they did come around to really trying to put some matches together. They had the Fish Market Street Fight, which is arguably the greatest match in the history of professional wrestling. We'll talk about that a little bit more here in a bit. But and then like it kind of dried up the Team 3D thing, and that's how we ended up getting Bully Ray and D-Von. And look, again, Bully Ray in the original iteration was fucking great. And I'll go ahead and just say this now so people can not take anything I say seriously from here on out. Bully Ray and Austin Aries had a fucking banger of a pay-per-view match. And Austin Aries, LOL, yes, correct. That is like the one thing Bubba really tried to get that guy like over in the eyes of the TNA audience at that time. And that was the thing that led to Austin Aries getting his big singles push in TNA. And he was already established in nerds like me, but he really tried to make him matter. And this led to like the Joseph Park feud, which was a lot of fun. Meanwhile, D-Von's just on that never-ending TV title run. And this all culminates in the Aces and Eights program, which I don't know. Do we want to talk about that now?
So we don't, but you're doing the same thing. I don't think anyone knows how to feel about whether they were good in TNA or not. Because like you're doing, I went the same way as you, where it's like I remember the single stuff. They were a team for 5 years in TNA before he becomes Bully Ray.
That's insane. And like during that time too, that isn't that when they went on their Road Warriors excursion and won the All Japan tag titles?
This is what I was going to get. So I actually don't know how they feel about TNA. I think the cynical way of looking at it is they wanted to do Japan, and they were like, TNA is a really nice place for us to just like make money on in the meantime at home, you know?
Work once a week, be on TV, not a bad gig.
Alex, do you think there was any mileage in them like fully trying to do the ECW act in Ring of Honor? Do you think people would have fought with that? Or do you think people would have been really angry about it? Like if they came out and were, you know, what do you think? Could that have worked? Because eventually Bubba had a great run in Ring of Honor, as we know.
It's 05. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. That took me a second. Mate, I don't know, man. I'm
not sure either.
Because what 05, late 05, when they go to TNA, is that Danielson still champion? Or Danielson just won the title? He just beat James Gibson for it. Yeah, I don't know. You'd have a hard time with the way that product was
too much its own thing by that point to just be like, it's the ECW. Yeah, I agree. But the point of all this is, I get the sense they wanted to do the stuff in Japan because they were huge marks of the Road Warriors, which is fine. And they wanted to have that on their resume that they did the stuff in Japan. And I think the TNA thing was a convenient, you know, side mission. The more generous approach to this topic would be they truly believed in TNA and they wanted to help TNA. And then they got there and did what a lot of people did when they got to TNA and went, maybe not. We'll just protect ourselves.
What, everyone but Kurt Angle?
Yeah, that definitely happened to guys, dude. Like, 100%. So I don't know. I wanted to ask you because I was honestly, I was putting my format gimmick together for this and was like, do I like the TNA? I don't think I do.
Like you were saying those words, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like about them being a tag team for 5 years in TNA, and I'm like, yeah, it sounds right. And then I'm thinking about like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Dude, yeah, like we have so many memories of the Bully Ray stuff. 5 years. That means they were a team in TNA as long as they were a team in WWE.
Good God.
No, there were more because they got split up. Anyway, the point is, it's very strange. It's very, very strange. But let's start Genesis, November 13th, 2005, the day of Eddie Guerrero's passing, right? Yep. And actually is a vivid Bubba Ray memory. His tribute to Eddie, right? He has the wrist tape with Eddie's name on it. And
Vaya con Dios is what he says.
This is the main event. 6-man with Rhino opposite America's Most Wanted and Jeff Jarrett. This is obviously a big moment in time. This is the pay-per-view where Christian Cage shows up. they shot an angle in the build up to this match with a insane, like crazy juice they got on the Dudleys. And again, and this speaks to the more favorable side of what we just discussed, the Dudleys are definitely locked in from a promotional point of view. Like, they frame America's Most Wanted as a killer, awesome tag team, and they're serious about getting revenge for getting busted open. No one's ever... I think Bubba says, no one's ever done it to Dudleys. You left us laying. You left us for dead. No one's ever done that to us. It's like, that's cool, man. That's a cool way to present Harris and Storm. This, of course, the era where Gail Kim is alongside Jeff Jarrett. Bubba is visibly, trim by comparison to where he was at the end of his WWE run. That would change over the coming years in TNA, but we'll talk about more maybe later. Bob O'Neill, what did you make of our TNA match here? Kick us off in Act 3.
I thought it fucking ruled, to be honest with you. I'd never seen it before. Just kind of going everything I wanted from the beginning. Jarrett, America's Most Wanted, challenged them to come fight him in the crowd, and they just went right for it. And just kind of violence and chaos the entire time. And that's what I'm there for, man. Rhino falls down the bleachers. That looked like it had to hurt quite a bit. A lot of blood. I don't know if it's because, they're new at TNA and they're kind of reinvigorated, or if it's just because it's a few months after the ECW One Night Stand match, but they kind of took a lot of stuff from that match and kind of threw it in here. So it's clear that, like, they know what their kind of wheelhouse is, at least in this moment.
Yeah, because I'm a great big fucking nerd, I hadn't seen this match in years, and I was kind of hoping it'd be like a Collision main event where they did like double heat, and I could just sit there and watch a quiet Impact Zone and really enjoy myself. But I thought about it a little bit, and I was like, not only is this the right match for the bill before the juice, it's very ECW, which means it's very Memphis, which means this was the right type of music to be playing here with Jeff Jarrett opposite the Duds, right? Everyone's in their comfort zone. Dude, this is like borderline fucking garbage wrestling indie stuff at times. At one point, Rhino looks at the people and goes, "Do you want me to pole drive this son of a bitch?" It's like we're in the fucking, it's like we're in an outlaw show, and I mean that as a compliment. But it embraces what it is. It's a bunch of really experienced pros taking the most direct route they can with a match. Like, they've got some time to put in. They brawl all over the place. There's a cheese grater. Storm chucks a beer bottle. All sorts happening here. Well, this is a good time. What did you make of this?
My favorite spot of the whole match is Bubba's on the rampway. And Jeff Jarrett, I think you're on the rampway, and Jeff just starts fucking throwing haymakers at him like a hockey fight. And I start popping huge, like, oh shit, like Jeff Jarrett's trying to get some fucking potatoes in on Bub Dud here, like this shit fucking rules.
You know how much he was getting paid, bro? He said, Jesus.
Yeah, this match is super fun. They did the classic like brawl around the Impact Zone shit. Rhino's got like, I guess like his gears rolled up on one side of his leg, or like his underwear showing or something, but it's like really funny to me. As he's like, but it's also like fitting for the match that like you would expect like that sort of like haggard look to occur. The America's Most Wanted were fucking awesome, man. Like Bananas heels. They're both great in this. I think both of them run the razor, right? Both Harrison Storm, both bleed here.
James Storm was great. You getting color, brother.
So I bought this DVD sometime in the year 2-3 years after this. So I always remember the finish of this show really well, with Christian coming out and they do the ridiculous pan of like the slow motion like kill switch, and like they pan to Jeff Jarrett like doing his face as he's hitting Scott D'Amore with the kill switch. But this match is just super fun. I popped when I could tell Joe just watched it when he posted the clip of was it Rhino or I guess it was Chris Harris running around, or James Storm maybe.
They meet Rhino head on with a clothesline, and Rhino's like, Rhino goes, he goes, ah.
But yeah, this match was a ton of fun. I just had to bring up that Jeff Jarrett Bubba spot because I fucking was like howling with laughter and like pumping my fist when that happened.
And I will say, like, for all the wild brawling, there are some nice touches here. Like, when they get in the ring, that stuff is pretty well done. And also, they do a really good job of it. They really make them wait for the gore, right? Because that's the thing. Everyone wants to see the gore. And they make them wait even longer for the table bump, which is what they're desperate to see. Obviously, they saved that for the big post-match payoff on Jeff. Really enjoyed this, Alex. I thought this was probably in some ways the most complimentary match of our lineup, in the sense of, like, here they're slotted as a main event. We're talking about as opening act. They're the main event here.
Yeah.
I thought this was a very polished is the wrong word for what this was, but, like, it was the right match to have, wasn't it? Like, why do the match that will pop Joe Holbert? Let's get the Impact. And this was also when the Impact Zone brawling actually still got over, rather than when it became, like, every fucking weekend they did it. What did you make of this upon rewatch, Alex?
Yeah, and also just to call out here quickly, this, not the same thing as, but similar to Barely Legal, this was probably the first TNA show, a lot of pay-per-view a lot of people saw after this was right after the debut on Spike, and they did try to put a good foot forward. They had Monty Brown beat Jeff Hardy, and if you're watching for the first time, that immediately establishes Monty Brown. If you've never seen it, they do a 8-man tag elimination match.
Amazing match.
Alex Shelley, Chris Daniels, Roderick Strong, and the one and only, the original Grin Grappler, Samoa Joe, defeated Austin Aries, Chris Sabin, Matt Bentley, and Sanjay Dutt.
Match is fucking awesome.
What a squad, dude. Fuck.
You had Abyss and Sabu doing their thing, AJ Styles and Petey Williams. I remember that match was really good. And then, this is the main event.
They do, sorry, Alex, but they do the Joe AJ, like, stare down too here? Is this the show they do that? When Joe's on the ramp?
Yeah, they do something where I think Joe beats the shit out of Daniels after the match or something.
That's it, yes.
When AJ is the one where it's like Styles Clash versus Canadian Destroyer, right? And they like,
yeah.
Like worked the match around that. Yeah.
There's a spot in that match that I always remember where Petey German suplexes. One of them German suplexes the other one off the apron onto the guardrail. Like, they just land back first on the guardrail. It's fucking nasty. Yep. But this main events. And, Rhino had recently been beaten by Jeff for the NWA title, and the AMW, were beefing with the Duds. And, why bother having a boring-ass 6-man tag when you're waiting for this shit to happen? Why not just go fucking balls to the wall like they do here? This would have been close to the point in time where me and my college buddies were watching all the TNA pay-per-views together. One of the things we lived for was Chris Harris terrorizing Don West. He would come out and just flip his papers up and talk mad shit to him. That was always fun. D-Von here, man, his traps are fucking huge. He's well on his way to looking like a fucking real live action Ninja Turtle. Like, there's a point where his back is just massive in TNA, man. It's crazy. We get My World, which it's been too long since we had My World play on the Grin Grappler, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's just a brawl. And Rhino falls down the stairs, as Bobby called out. Rhino also gives Jarrett a fucking nasty ass pile driver on the ramp that looks like $1 million, dude. It's fucking great. He goes for the gore on the ramp, gets cut off by a really good James Storm super kick. Joe, we mentioned that James Storm's a good wrestler before.
A couple times. Jack Crosby, he's hearing it right now. He doesn't know why he's fired up, but he is. He's fired up. One day, brothers.
I'm talking about how large D-Von was getting at this point in time, just muscle mass wise, but he still has a bit of his like crispness, because they do this spot where Chris Harris goes for the catatonic and D-Von goes all the way around him and then hooks him in a reverse DDT. It's a really, really just crisp, like sharp looking spot they pull off there. Bubba Ray does his version of the flare flop while selling the stroke, which looks incredible. It's a fantastic looking sequence of events. Yeah, you guys called it out already. It's Storm that cuts Rhino off with a clothesline and just fucking decapitates him. 3D, 1, 2, 3. Then we get a little post-match angle with Christian, and we get some table action, and the crowd goes home happy. And yeah, a weird day. Like you said, it was the day Eddie Guerrero died, but also a really important day for TNA. And at the end of this show, if you're a TNA fan, you're like feeling pretty good about what's going on and what's happening. So, yeah, it's fair to say, as you and I were just like workshopping our thoughts aloud, their TNA run becomes a bit complicated to say the very least. But this, they couldn't have started it better than this being like their first official match in the company. And
there is good stuff, and I do think your point was spot on when you said, you know, yes, it's complicated, but it's not complicated in the way that others are, in the sense of like they have blood on their hands for the damage done to the TNA brand. Like, I think the Dudleys were fine. I just don't know if they were like as significant as they hoped to be. You know what else hurts them, Alex? You probably remember this feud. In mid-06, they go into that feud with the Outlaws.
The James Gang.
The James Gang. And you can tell, like, in the guy's mind, that was going to be a big deal, and that shit is horrific, dude. All of that stuff is bad. That doesn't help them.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I forgot to call this out in the second act, but one of the things that needs to be stressed about the Dudleys, and like when they were established after the Royal Rumble in 2000, I don't know if anyone remembers this. They basically killed the New Age Outlaws. That's how like they got rid of the New Age Outlaws, and that was to think about the idea of an act that was 3 years old and the WWF saying, all right, you're done, get the fuck out of here. And that's basically what happened with the Dudleys there. But yes, and then as the note calls out there, I forgot all about that. The James Gang dresses up as the Dudleys.
Oh, yes. And it's, you know, I think we've learned this lesson again in the last 5 years. There was a great deal of appeal to seeing the Dudleys have a brawl with AMW. There was even an appeal to them having an old school match with Team Canada. There's no appeal to them wrestling the New Age Outlaws in a worse version of things that have been done previously when, you know, neither act is the same. I mean, it's just stupid.
But their feud with the Steiners in 07.
Yes, but that gave us fat asses. So,
True.
You know.
In the coming years after what we just watched, they kind of just float around the tag division. They turn babyface, they turn heel. There is some good stuff we'll talk about when we call out some other matches. I do remember them getting really locked in the build to Lockdown 09 when they do like the Philadelphia Brawl with Beer Money. Do you remember this, Oracle? I know you've watched a lot of the 09 TNA stuff.
Yeah, I've seen all the 09 pay-per-views.
Yeah, and they do that big promo where they're out in the streets of Philly and they, you know, they do the whole thing, which is something they would do again, obviously the Wyatt family, fucking 2015. But I just think it's kind of a sad era of that act. Like, it's also their worst look where they have the all black. There's an action figure that has
I remember
immortalized
08
this.
being like, 08, 09 is rough because it just, you know, I'll just say it. Bubba was just not in good shape, man.
He was very large, yes.
Yeah.
And to that point, I think that is relevant because of how, you know, contrasting it makes the Bully Ray run.
Mm-hmm.
This led to one of the funniest action figures ever made, as they immortalized this era of Bubba Dudley and produced one of the most cowardly physiques ever on a figure, boys. Look at this.
Oh, brother.
Oh, my God. He looks like Luther Reigns.
And the greatest thing about it is the face is still that of a man with a lot of body weight, you know? Like, look at his face, it's clearly that of a big man. And look at his physique. look at his face, dude. Yeah, Braun Breaker.
Someone said Braun Breaker. That's definitely more like it,
It's a pretty sad deal. I think the saddest moment of their entire career, to be honest, unless they top it next month for Bound for Glory, was Hardcore Justice 2010, in which they have a lightsaber duel.
With cojones.
It was over. And to their credit, to Bubba's credit in particular, that could have been the end of the story altogether, if we're being honest, right? Like, it had got pretty bad. And they have the singles run. I think we've talked about Bully Ray probably enough. He talked about it enough, and I think we've followed his lead in that regard. But we all agree, actually. I mean, Bob said he's taken our word for us, but the three of us that have seen it all agree, actually good run, right, Bully Ray?
Yes.
These things happen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually good run. He ultimately, aces and eights happens. I will say this. The moment in which it's revealed, as silly as it is and as goofy as it is, The moment in which Bubba and D-Von reunite is actually pretty cool. Inside the cage. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad we're on the same page. Yeah, I was at that show, the lockdown in San Antonio, and like the crowd that was there, like they ate that up. And then when Bubba and D-Von do the old Dudley's like hand, they do that. Yeah, it was cool.
It was cool. It was the wrong. It's a well done reveal, but it was the wrong reveal because it was never going to pay off that level of hype, right? Bubba and D-Von. If you watch the show, you're fine with it. If you're just like watching from the outside looking in, who's it going to be? Fuck, bro, I ain't going to do it for you, is it? You know?
See, that's another clear case of TNA getting in its own way and like it not being the Dudley's fault, because the whole thing, whenever the Aces and Eights was introduced, like the way they laid it out, because remember AJ lost that match where he couldn't challenge for the title for a year. And so like it's so obvious this is the NWO and AJ Styles is Sting. And he's going to come back and save the day. And they still like that's what happened, much like Sting beating Hogan, but they still managed to fuck it up along the way. So,
yeah, I mean the whole thing fell apart, didn't it? I mean they had their own Luger moment with Chris Sabin of all people, which was very funny.
Yeah.
They lost half of the Aces and Eights due to contract, disputes and stuff, and all of it. I mean it was a mess when it was a mess, and it's a shame. I think. Yeah, I mean, the Laps fan, I think we're on the money. I think that was the belief at the time, too, right? It was going to be Bischoff, and they got kind of cold feet. I thought Bubba tried his best with it. It wasn't a role that suited him at all. I remember they had Brooke...
oh, dude, fucking...
Test Smoker.
Old Vax McGee over there. Yeah,
Vax... Vax McGee, yes, yeah. She was with Bubba, and it was like, this is a really weird act for Bully Ray, man. Like, he's wearing fucking vests and shit, and he's with
dude. That's the whole thing. I can buy Bubba as like this badass that's gonna fuck me up, but then he's not a wrestler you put a hot chick with, dude. That's just so stupid. Yeah.
And he's talking about like he's using all the terminology from the fucking like the biker culture that Eric Bischoff studied, like, and he's like
tribute.
He's Bully Ray, bro. Like, this is not... Oh, it's a shame.
The match with AJ is not bad, though.
No. They have better matches before that, and it's impossible to watch the AJ match without just being like, how have they done an angle where it's like AJ versus Dixie Carter and he's actually leaving? Like, I truly believe... We talk about WCW a lot. I truly think that whole saga is... And that's the number one seed in terms of American wrestling incompetence. I don't think it will ever be topped. They had Dixie Carter as a heel doing promos of AJ Styles, and he actually was leaving. Like, they couldn't get him to agree to stay. Like, we talk about healing the promotion. That's the ultimate in that, right? Like, remember they have the thing where Dixie says, you haven't been so phenomenal lately. When was your last 5-star match? It's like, AJ Styles, bro. Like, and he was leaving. I mean, it's just, I know they thought he was staying, but the point is he hadn't signed. So what the fuck are you doing? Anyway.
Sadly, that was the end of the road for Allen. Never.
Oh yeah, never recovered. Eventually becomes a babyface, and they do this whole angle at the Manhattan Center, which I am working on a project about that run of TV, and it's all about revenge and paying off this Dixie Carter thing. And Bubba promises he is going to put Dixie Carter through a table. And they do a whole bunch of TV to build to this at the Manhattan Center. It is like a pretty cool moment in the sense that they do, like, in a rare occasion, that block of TV, they do 2 tapings, I think, at the Manhattan Center, 2 like loops. You can tell they actually focus on like, what are we trying to achieve on these TVs? And it's the best TV they've done for a while at that point. And coming out of that, the Hardys also, come back together on those TVs. They do this series with the Wolves. Now, I had actually misremembered things slightly, and this is my apologies, fellas. I think we still watched the right match because it's the most revered. They do a series of matches. They wrestle the Hardys straight up, and they wear the Dudley's, like 2003 Dudley's gear, and D-Von has to tape over Dudley. He also, on the back of his jersey, has D-Von spelt the WWF way and not the TNA way, which is very funny. The camo, like the yellow camo they had on there on SmackDown at the end of their run, it's that gear.
Okay. They're
in there at the Manhattan Center with the Hardys. That match is fine. The better stuff is with the Wolves, who, it has to be said, for all of our range of opinions on David Richards in particular, they are very good in these matches. You can tell it meant a lot to them to be the third act in this thing, They have a ladder match at the Manhattan Center, which I remembered.
That's what I thought we were doing, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. What we actually watched is far more unique in that when I saw the setting, I went, oh my fucking God, they're going to do this match in this building on this night. Because this is very different. This is the October 8th edition of TNA television. It's Full Metal Mayhem, which is their TLC. And it's the decider in the series. This is not in the Manhattan Center. This is in, I believe it was Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Of course.
There are 350 people in the building for this.
This is one of the last impacts on Spike, I believe.
Yes, it is. It is one of the last. This is like around the time when they go to Korakuen Hall for Bound for Glory. And it isn't even in canon with like the TV at that point, you know? And the vibes are better at the Manhattan Center. I think the match quality is similar. The effort these fellas produce for this, love them, hate them, feel however you want. The fact they cared this much about this match is honestly staggering, dude. Like, this was not a triumphant scene, was it, boys? Like, just looking at this show and listening to the crowd of this show. Oracle, were you... I mean, you remember this time, but, like, it's jarring hitting play on this YouTube video, right? The way this looks.
Yeah, I mean, it's like... It's amazing how... Because even 2 years prior to this...
Yeah.
They were coming off the rails of the Aries title win and all this stuff, and the Aces and Eights angle just started and it was hot, right? We just talked about it. The original angle was good. A lot had happened in that 2 years. Of course, there was the infamous Dixie Carter email scandal that led to the end of Spike TV and all that entails. And this is it's funny because at first they come in here and the crowd's like probably your typical, right, 2014 TNA crowd, just quiet, peaceful, whatever. By the end of it, they're rocking pretty good because these guys are doing all kinds of absolutely insane shit. I think is it Davey Richards who takes like a crazy insane bump through a ladder?
It's a guardrail.
Guardrail, that's right. Thank you. Yes, it's a guardrail that he takes it, and it's right before the edit, like right before they go to break, right? And like the look on his face is like, I just got the breath knocked out of me. Holy shit!
Mm-hmm.
D-Von takes a fucking double table bump, and it popped me huge. And I don't know if they caught it, but he does like his like spasm cell, and it fucking popped me huge. I love it.
At first, though, he does like the old head thing of he sits up to make sure he's okay, and then he sits back down.
I don't think Bubba took any crazy spots in this.
He didn't. No.
That I can recall, but literally, like, legit kudos to D-Von for taking. He did like a safest version, but he took a double table bump.
And Oracle, before you continue, we do have to know. I mentioned them doing the nostalgia deal with the gear before. In this match, they are legitimately dressed like this is like a weekend indie that they're working. Like they just got like D-Von's just wearing like a tank top without any notable branding. It's a scene. Carry on, Oracle.
Oh yeah, but I mean, Jeff and Matt are doing all kinds of crazy shit, and this match is super fun. Just a very good time. And it's crazy to think that, like, I mean, I don't regret it. Sometimes I think back and I'm like, because I had Spike TV, I mean, everybody did. Yeah. I just stopped watching. You know what I mean? I just didn't want to watch it.
They failed you and everyone else, bro. I mean, it is what it is.
Because like they debuted there in late 05, and like I watched for most of 06. Came back in a little bit 08. Watched a couple, handful of times in 2010. Got back in at some in 2012. But they never could keep. I mean, it was on there. It was on the TV every time. It was easily accessible. It was, it just, I don't know. It just, for some reason, seeing this setting and kind of made me reflect on on the old TNA again.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a scene that leaves you in mixed emotions. To be completely honest, there's something pretty sad about it. We're being real. It's considering this is a Spike TV, with a production with all of that talent. It's bizarre. I mean, seriously, guys, 350 people. I mean,
that's insane.
And it's just pitch black in the building, and it's just darkness.
This is 2014?
Yes. I think go for it, Alex.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say 2 years prior to Slammiversary, they did like 5,000 people, one of their biggest shows ever.
And I think the other side of the coin of that, it being slightly sad, I think there is a lot to be said for the way they approach this match, regardless of that. And I think it speaks to how much the TLC matches mean to these guys and their legacy, that they were like, if this is supposed to be a sequel to that shit, it don't matter if there's 350 or 30, like, we're going to try it, you know? And Bubba doesn't say anything crazy, but everyone's on in this, right? Everyone's trying. I mean, the Wolves help a lot. Eddie Edwards takes like a double hip toss off a fucking ladder, which is like
over
in
the
a
top
six-sided ring, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a crazy shift, Bobby. Had you ever seen this before, and what did you make of it, mate?
I hadn't. Yeah, I mean, kind of like you said, obviously the environment is staggering, but, you know, like Jeff Hardy still looks really good. He's playing the hits here. You know, Matt's doing what he can. Bubba and D-Von are kind of playing the hits too. You know, everyone's working hard, like you said, and I think that really means a lot. And there is some good stuff here, and it gets to the point too where like it is chaotic. Like there's 4 ladders and a couple tables in the ring at one point, and like it hits all the notes. I just, you know, with a better crowd, I think it probably would have had more of an impact. Instead, it kind of just feels like, you know, it's good, but there is a lot of like what could have been here.
It did get great reviews at the time. I think Dave gave this 4.5 stars, which 2014, like, I agree it's crazy, but Dave wasn't at that point yet, was he? Where he was just like,
no.
Especially for TNA, bro. Fuck, he never was doing that for TNA, so it's a little much, but yeah, I don't know. I think the Manhattan Center deal would have been better vibes, but to be honest, it would have been real with each other. It also would have shown a very generous presentation of what 2014 TNA. This is much more realistic, isn't it? This is what it was. This is what it looked like. Alex, what did you make of this upon revisit? Had you seen this? I know you've seen the Manhattan Center match. Have you seen this before?
No, I had forgotten this was part of a series, so I just the Manhattan Center one is what I remembered, and it is, to their credit, we should call it too, the whole Dixie going through a table thing. I'm not gonna say they popped a number, but I remember like all the reports being that like it worked in terms of there were way more viewers than normal for like that show that they aired. To be honest, the thing that got me most like kind of like, well, hold on, like moving in my seat, was there's this part where Eddie and Bubba just start chopping the shit out of each other back and forth, and I'm like, all right, we're cooking now. Yeah, it's a standard affair, and for what that is, and again, in a 6-sided ring specifically, I do not recommend anyone do this type of shit in front of 350 people. Grab a headlock, brawl in the crowd, but don't fucking what you called out, that Eddie hip toss spot. It's not like he goes off the 3rd rung of the ladder. They do that shit where they throw him over the top of the ladder, and Davey does that guardrail spot. And Jeff, with his never-ending quest of like wanting to do things different, no matter what that means, they do that part where he sets the table upside down. He could have landed on the leg of that thing with his ass, dude, and just like torn himself apart. Like it's that Jeff Hardy's a crazy fella. I do kind of like they tip over the ladder and he just rides it out and does the splash through Bubba on the table and whatnot. There's a part where D-Von yells at a cameraman. That's pretty funny. Yeah, like Oracle called out, D-Von takes the double table spot, and then, am I okay? All right. So he starts doing his like twitching thing. And yeah, it's a shame that TNA was what it was at that point in time, because say what you will about Davey, and you would be right. It really seemed like both these teams wanted to work to make the Wolves seem important. And this is 2014. So, 5 years prior to this, people were legitimately talking about them like they were the best tag team in the world, the American Wolves, that is. And so now they're finally like on television and have this potential opportunity. And as we've kind of talked about, the Dudleys, they haven't had a career-long reputation of really wanting to make people seem important over them. The Hardy Boys never really seemed to have much an issue with that. But it's just a shame. And, you know, Eddie's still with TNA, and who knows what Davey's doing. But it seems like an effort was made to make this tag team seem special. And it just due to where the company was at the time, that wasn't going to go anywhere. And yeah, specifically, Matt takes he takes that power bomb like off the ladder in the corner of a 6-sided ring. Like,
no wonder he can't walk. Jesus.
Hold on a minute. Yeah,
I do think probably part of why it got such a great reaction critically. I think it's easy to forget that like there was still genuine novelty. I guess there still is. I don't know, but the Hardys being back together, I actually think mattered more. In the sense that they've come back together so many times since that now it's like, of course they're together. It's the fucking hot, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I think in 2014 it had been long enough since they had a real tag run. There was genuine nostalgia of this. I'm sure, I can't speak for anyone else. I'm sure there is some nostalgia for them wrestling next month. I think there was more of it then for wrestling, you know, people that would be giving star ratings, I guess is what I'm saying. Because this is also at the height of like, man, remember when the tag division was good and it had Edge and Christian and the Dudleys and the Hardys, right? This is 2014. Like, it's...
This is also when because I think that like this is when Matt and Jeff like had gotten back together since what, like 2007.
Yeah, and they've both been through a lot.
They had
right?
they had that really great Young Bucks match.
Yes,
I think was that year. Yeah.
Yes, because this is the way they reintroduce Matt Hardy is like incredibly human and sincere for TNA, in that he basically is just like, guys, I want to bring out my brother Matt Hardy, you know, because obviously Matt, we've all loved to Matt, dude. His first go round in TNA was fucking a scene, and it was at the same time Jeff was going for his stuff. So it was
that's when Matt was teamed with or was feuding with Dreamer, right? Whatever.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
So when Matt had like the Davey Boy dreadlock hair and stuff.
Yeah, and I think he was at one point he's like with Dreamer against AJ. Dude, that stuff gets really fucking bad there for a stretch. That's when Dreamer's wearing MMA gloves. Anyway, enough about Tommy Dreamer. So yeah, I think this meant a lot to people at the time that were watching. There wasn't many people watching, unfortunately. I think what's nice about this as a last match is we're unsure, and Alex and I spent about half an hour trying to figure it out earlier. We don't know how the Dudleys felt about TNA, but I'll say this, dude. A lot of the guys that came in after them and took those contracts, like they would not have been on this show working this hard. So they must have built some reverence for at least their legacy with the Hardys, if not the company itself. Because like they're trying, man. And I've said this elsewhere, but I'll just reiterate here. It's been something I'm working on for months, so like it's not happening coming out any next couple of weeks. I am working on a thing about that Manhattan TV. I think that is one of the more forgotten pieces of history because they're off Spike anyway. Nothing changes, right? Their fate is sealed. That stuff's worth looking at, dude. Low-key wrestled Samoa Joe at the Manhattan Center. Like, that's fucking cool to me, you know? So
is Angle on those shows?
Angle is like the general manager, and so that's the TVs they bring the 6-sided ring back for, and they do the whole thing of like babyface GM, he's going to bring wrestling back, and they do a cool thing. I don't know if you've seen it, Alex. I'll send you a link if not. They do a cool thing where at the start of the Manhattan Center shows they have Tazz do a promo from the crowd, and because as you know, like they never run. They didn't run New York. TNA never run New York, right? Mm-hmm. So it was like a different kind of vibe they were going for. And there's a lot of ECW nostalgia and all that stuff, which, you know, your mileage may vary. It's a lot of Tommy Dreamer. But also, Gene Snitsky, Big Zeke, and King Mo show up as heavies for Dixie Carter. Fascinating. Gene Snitsky just shows up and takes his mask off, and so does Big Zeke, and they're like, oh my god, it's the former Ezekiel Jackson. So what the fuck is going on? So yeah, stay tuned for that LNG Productions. Manhattan Magic. It's going to be fun. All right. Enough about my life. Let's do some other... in fact, before we do other recommendations, let's talk about the Dirty Biff return. Before we do that, though, Bob, do you have any advice for them who enjoyed this so far?
Yeah, if you had a good time, you go ahead and smash that like button.
Boom. There we go. They shoot an angle. They're going to business for themselves at Bound for Glory 2014. They are working at Korakuen Hall, and a fan has a Bullet Club flag. And because they're the Dudley Boyz and they know they are not going to be on TNA for much longer, they steal the flag and cut a promo about Bullet Club. And I bring this up. I've told this story a million times. I remember vividly the reaction to that being, holy shit, this is sad how desperate these guys are to like maintain relevance and try and shoot an angle with themselves. And I tell that not to bury them, I tell that to say that in 10 months after that, they show up in the WWE at the Barclays Center and you would have thought they never left and it was 2000 again. And it's only for one night. Let's be honest, it very quickly dissipates. But I always use them as the example. If you get over in the WWF, you can always go back and people just, they accept you like it's, you're starting over. Before the comeback, though, Bubba is in the Rumble, and that gets the wheels in motion. Philadelphia, a great Royal Rumble Oracle, right? 2015, a great, just classic Rumble.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the actual prouder nights in the history of the World Wrestling Federation.
Exactly. But, jokes aside, legitimately one of 3 highlights maybe in that match is Bubba's reaction. He gets a great reaction. The crowd chants for D-Von. They want D-Von. And I think WWE likes to trial these things in the Rumble, and they're okay, the people want to see this Dudley.
Yeah, that was the other time that we saw Dwayne Johnson cry, right? Was it Rumble 15?
It was it. That was the other one, yeah. And
shit.
The night after SummerSlam, a genuine surprise.
I'm sorry. We had to stop. Y'all have seen the internet exclusive promo Dwayne did after that, where he's like completely like rattled. Have you guys ever seen that? Like,
no, after the Rumble, you mean? Not the Oscar, not the crying situation at the festival. Yeah.
Whoever the woman interviewer was at the time, like, comes up to Roman and Dwayne, like, after, like, they just come back through the curtain, and Dwayne is like not well, and Roman's also a bit frazzled, and Roman starts. Joe, I can't believe you've never seen this. Roman starts talking about he's got to go back to camp and start watching tape on Brock, and he's going to start studying tape. And then Dwayne is like, he says, he like snaps into it. He's like, yeah, mama, this is called a Samoan pancake. And like, it's so fucking awkward. And like, while like this is going on, Dwayne's just like staring off into the ether. So that's what's going to happen when he doesn't win his Oscar again. So
that was a like rare misstep for him in terms of, I mean, in the last couple of years, he's kind of been able to reclaim that, made it less rare. But dude, he was out there when they were booing, man. That was a fucking big. That probably really fucked him up, right? So, yeah, interesting times. But
it was all part of the plan, though. Remember,
of course, it was setting the stage for Mania in 2024. Bubba gets a great reaction. The people chant for D-Von after SummerSlam 2015. New Day in the ring, Barclays Center. Genuine surprise. The Straight Outta Dudleyville documentary is done from like, it's actually really cool. It's on the Vault channel, so you can watch it for free. It's all recorded like surrounding their return. So they're in their little trailer getting ready, and D-Von's taping up his D-Von does the tape across all the fingers, he does that deal, and like you can see how nervous the guys are. And look, with all love and respect, I've always thought they looked fucking hilarious when they came back because they have on like the old gear and they look just, it was a different time.
Have you ever heard Bubba tell the story of Vince explaining to him he's aware of Bully Ray, but they're not going to do that?
Yes, we need to get into that because that's an interesting topic. And look, we'll talk about the run in a second, but it has to be said, Oracle, that moment at Barclays is special. I mean, they get an incredible reaction.
Fucking awesome, dude. I popped huge for that. Yeah. Like, I mean, like I pointed out at the beginning of the show, I was a huge Dudley fan in 2000, and that definitely brought me back there for a minute. And like, I was a fan of Bully Ray, so I was like, maybe, in a tag setting, they'll be good. The New Day matches aren't good. They're not terrible. They're just like matches. Here I am jumping right into the
go for
it. The run. But the Wyatt's feud is not any good except for the street fight or the Extreme Rules match on Raw after
in Philly.
TLC. That match is really fucking good.
Yes.
The one in Philly. It's the Duds, Tommy Dreamer and Rhino versus the Wyatts, which was Bray, Harper, Rowan, and Braun, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Braun's in there.
That match is like really fucking good. Because the night before they have
Monday Night Raw.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
I was not aware Tommy Dreamer crossed paths with Braun Strowman.
Oh yes, and it's awesome.
But I remember the night before they had like the flaming table spot that went poorly.
Yep.
so that I feel like they kind of like, 'cause, like the match was not good at the pay per view like at all.
They
I
did
think
one of
gave
those
them a
redeem
retry on
yourself.
Raw, and it was like,
Yeah.
and it actually delivered.
Trivia, Oracle, who was their first match back against when they came back? They did a TV.
What, the Duds?
Yeah, they did. They came back. They worked a SmackDown immediately.
Was it Primetime Players?
It was not. Any other guesses on this, boys?
Is it Curtis Axel and somebody?
Not quite. Bobby?
Primo and Epico.
No, it was in fact the Ascension.
Oh,
God.
And
Oh.
it is on the Blu-ray set, and Connor has an incredible moment on the documentary. He's like, not only the Dudleys back, they are here to stay. And I'm not sure they were even there by the time the fucking thing released. I don't even know they were still. Yeah. But yeah, there's not a lot there, Oracle, as you were saying, mate.
No, yeah, because then in 2016 they turned heel and they feud with the Usos. And I think like the Usos beat him and like put him through a table or something at Mania or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
and that match is very bad.
And then they have like the TV feud with Enzo and Cass. It doesn't really go anywhere. It just lasts like 2 weeks.
Yep.
And then they just sort of hover around in for obscurity up until SummerSlam, where they work the pre-show and then they're gone. So
Who do they
have
work on the
1 year.
pre-show at SummerSlam?
Fuck, I can't remember. It was
That's
like
back at Barclays. That's like fuck.
It was not a traditional tag team that they worked. It was somebody.
Like Sami Zayn and someone, right?
Yeah, it was Sammy and somebody. Yeah,
Neville?
Yeah, it was like Sammy and Cruz. I think it was Sammy and Apollo Cruz. Was that who it was?
I thought it was maybe Neville.
It might be Neville. I think you're right about that. Yeah, it was Neville. You're
Someone
right.
in the chat.
I think that's right. Neville.
Because Apollo works Miz on that show, I think.
Because they did kind of tease like the Bully Ray. They teased it, and that's kind of what happened in the last few months. Was like
what they do is they work heel, and as you said, they tease the Bully Ray, and then the night after SummerSlam, they do a live segment that feels like the TNA segment where they announce they're done, and Bubba turns on D-Von. So everyone assumed the angle was going to be they'd retire, and then Bubba turns on D-Von and becomes Bully Ray, right? That's what everyone thought it was going to be, and I think that's what they were looking to do. And instead, what they do is like the Good Brothers just lay them out, and they're just killed off together.
Mm-hmm. And
the story is that at one point the story was like he can't be called Bully Ray because of fucking be a star. Yeah. And it's like, well, they could just call him Bubba Ray and he could be Bully Ray. It's not stupid, but it was Alex. I don't think Vince had any interest in a singles Bubba Ray Dudley run, right?
No, and the way I think it's Bubba tells the story of Vince being like, "I'm aware of what you did."
Yeah.
Like, no, you're fucking not. Someone told you 10 seconds ago of that. Like, it's so. I don't know, man. It's like we've said so many times during this. I can't guarantee X would have happened if Y did, but like, would have been cool. Like if he got a shot to do that, and like, especially with those WWE crowds, because like I said, well past the expiration point of like bad guy wrestling promos getting crowds worked up. I saw grown men like trying to hop the rail to punch Bubba Ray Dudley in the face. Like,
and I will say. I don't know how good the matches would have been, Oracle. The brand split had just returned, and they were pretty light on guys at that point, weren't they?
Yeah. I don't think Bully Ray could have main evented anything in the Fed. I
agree.
I'm being kind of a dick there, but not really.
No, you're right. I agree. It's just the way you said it.
As a mid-card heel, I think it would have worked.
I agree.
For a brief period, for like 3 to 6 months.
If he worked with Sami Zayn.
I had a couple of fun programs out of it.
Him and Sami Zayn could have had a good program. 100%.
Yep.
Look at this. The Dudleys tag was Sami's only SummerSlam match until last year. Wow.
That's weird.
So Sami's SummerSlam catalog is the Duds, that kind of weird match with Bron Breakker, and the Karrion Kross Classic. A range of emotions. I think it could have worked. I think, as you said, it wouldn't have been a main event thing.
Right.
The way that it turned out was like, D-Von recently explained this. So D-Von wanted to still wrestle, and they wanted him to become an agent. And he was like, "Can I still wrestle instead of being an agent?" And Triple H basically said to him, he said Vince doesn't have any interest in only having one Dudley. So it was basically go back to doing the indies, which obviously Bubba did. Ray went and did like TNA again and shit like that. Ring of Honor, more on that in a moment. D-Von was a coach that whole time. He was an agent that whole time.
Yeah.
And as I've said 1,000 times, he invented one of the funniest finishing maneuvers of all time, in which he wanted Bliss Cross to do a 3D where it was a DDT rather than a cutter.
Jesus.
With the only issue, of course, being that Alexa Bliss is like one of the shortest people in the history of professional wrestling, so she had to get. Think about look, I'm not an agent, guys, but this. They did it once in a tag with Carmella and Dana Brooke. Worth seeking out just for how funny it looks, because
those are some good ones to take that.
Yeah, right. It's perfect people to try. I mean, I just look. I'm not a scientist nor a wrestling agent, but a 3D. The reason the cutter works is because they come down with the 3D. A DDT you have to get over the top of.
So when did Devon leave the agent? The COVID thing.
That was a COVID TV, so he may have lasted longer than that. I think he just sort of. I think now he's doing his own school. I'm not sure. I think he had like a health scare. No, he had a health scare, and he's got his own wrestling school. And he's recently, like, with DDP Yoga, got himself, because he had a stroke. And he's got himself in good shape. Look, I'm not a doctor, as I just, I've stressed many times in this show.
Brother.
I saw him wrestle for TNA a couple of years ago when they did the 1,000th episode of Impact. Maybe last year. They did 1,000 episodes of Impact and they had the Dudleys wrestle. And I'm not sure Devon should be wrestling, but he can do what he wants. I mean, he's a big boy. He seems like a nice fellow. I don't know, man. Like, he's obviously got himself in good shape, but he had a stroke. Like, I don't know if he should be having a pay-per-view match, to be honest, but I don't know, man. None of my business. Meanwhile, Bubba Ray Dudley returned to the wider wrestling world and caused all sorts of havoc. And we have fought the Dudleys' corner quite a bit tonight. We believe that there has been an overcorrection. However, Alex previously alluded to the reality that a lot of it is kind of self-inflicted because of, let's be honest, particularly Bubba and his many... he's busted open happenings, for one, but I think more for a wrestling fan, because all wrestlers have crazy takes. The Ring of Honor stuff was fucking bad, dude. Like, it was really, really bad. And
awful.
There were times where he would cut the Bully Ray promo and you go,
Andy Leone on fucking Ring of Honor.
Look, I know everyone knows the story, so maybe that's why it doesn't resonate for them. But I genuinely think that did damage his image, Alex. Would you agree? That was bad, man. That Ring of Honor stuff was horrific, and he's like front and center as the fucking main man for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, especially because if you wanted to make the argument of the guy he made, it was fucking Flip Gordon, that fucking buffoon that he went out there and had like a program with. That was the whole. It was Flip Gordon, and then who was that kid who had a good sharpshooter? Mark Haskins. Whatever happened to that guy?
Oh yeah, he kind of after the pandemic, I feel like he never got another go of it, didn't it?
Yeah, but he was another guy that Bubba feuded with. But yeah, it was. Look, we hit a point in time where Ring of Honor was never just by the way the system was. It couldn't be what people like myself remember from 2004, 05, that type of thing. But it hit this period, especially when Bubba was at the forefront of making decisions, where they were just. I don't even know what they were trying to be. I can't say that it was trying to be trying to do ECW again. It was just this bad wrestling product that he was so gotten to when people criticized, and then also just kind of my friends can come and play. And Velvet Sky could be the nicest person in the world. I don't know her from anybody. Velvet Sky was not a good professional wrestler, and I think that did a lot to immediately sour people in Ring of Honor when she got brought in, and then also just on the idea of Bubba Ray Dudley in general.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, it's that part of it is not too complicated. And I did look up to Supercard of Honor 12, the reason we have AEW today, and a pretty infamous show in its own right. Bully Ray and Cheeseburger defeated the Dogs, Rhett Titus and Will Ferrara.
Blimey.
In 210. I'm sorry, ended in a no contest in 210. It was followed by Cody Rhodes defeating Kenny Omega in 37-15.
I just looked at I actually remember the match being fun, but it shouldn't have happened, and this is part we're talking about. The Briscoes versus Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer final battle.
Final battle,
bro.
final
2017,
battle,
final battle. You know, like it's just, and again, I remember the match being fine, but like it doesn't matter, does it? It's like, come on, guys, it's over. It was bad enough that he kind of disappeared from the game for a bit. He did like his, podcast rounds and all that, and then he re-emerged and did some stuff in NWA, and then he had like a hellacious run as like a top heel in TNA a couple years ago, where he worked with Josh Alexander and shit, and like I remember one of those Josh Alexander matches being kind of impressive, but at the same again, and I know this isn't fair, but it's the truth. There is a level where it actually doesn't even matter if the match is overachieved. It's over, dude. You know, like turning to Bully Ray as a major heel in 2023, it actually doesn't matter if the match is good at that point. It's just,
yeah.
I think it was a Full Metal Mayhem match, him and Alexander, and I remember reviewing it at the time, and it was like the match was pretty good, dude. They worked really hard. It's 2023, and the top heel is Bully Ray. It's very difficult to manage these things. I also just saw that he managed to have a 3.89 on cage match, no DQ match with the Beast Mortos.
He, and this has nothing to do with D-Von. It's like all a Bubba Ray thing. I think he got to a point where he became discontent with how his things ended, and then he I think he overthought a lot of things, and then unfortunately, as a lot of wrestlers will do because they're stubborn people, and I am too, so I can't judge too hard, he doubled down and was just like, fuck it. And so, I don't think he particularly cares, but I think if he wants to know why his legacy is so heavily debated, he just needs to find the closest mirror and look in it. So,
yeah, he became a caricature of himself, which is fine for a pro wrestler, but when the caricature is very negative, it's much more. And
it's look, we have to.
Yeah,
his biggest thing is like realism in wrestling, and yet his thing is weekly talking about how wrestling's fake and how you can.
And also, look, we all have differing opinions on The Undertaker. Bob thinks he sucks. When The Undertaker talks about psychology and selling, whether you like his work or not, he generally did care about those things as a professional wrestler. And if you watch his bigger matches, he would try his best to adhere to that logic, even as a zombie looking ridiculous. I'm sorry, Bully, if you see this. I mean, it is kind of personal. You are many things. You had a great career. You are not the man to be talking about realism in professional wrestling. Mm-hmm. My favorite things about Bubba Ray as a wrestler is how ridiculous he moves, bumps, and acts at all times. He was never, ever someone that we looked at as fucking Stan Hansen or Brody. And I hate that the Bully Ray run like rewired his brain in that way. Maybe he's working me. I don't really see what the payoff is, but like, he had a great career, but it feels like he's desperate to convince us that he had a different career to the one he had. You know, that's what I think frustrates people.
Bully Bloodsport.
We do have to be clear. We've done a lot of these Grin Grapplers now. We've done almost 50. And most of the guys we've covered end up having very sad final portions of their career. It is the norm, and it is not going to make me say that I don't like the Dudley Boyz ever because I find him to be annoying now. Yes, he did have a match with Jinder Mahal last year that was... I found legitimately unsettling how sad I found his performance in that match. I don't know if you guys saw that match. It was at Maple Leaf Wrestling.
No.
I saw Jinder tear the house down with Masada, though.
Oh, I'm sure. And may have literally tore it down. I think how quickly he was getting out of there. But and I talked to Eva about this at the time, and he didn't really get what I meant, so maybe it was a me experience. I found that match hard to watch because Bully was doing all of his heel shtick, and it felt like watching a stand-up comic go through their routine that they are so desperate they could have stopped doing a long time ago, but it's just, that's all they have. You know, it is what it is. Like, that match is tragic, dude. It's really bad. But he's not the outlier for that. He is, in fact, very much with the majority. He's been kind of sad in this last few years. He's a pro wrestler, whatever.
Yeah.
But before we get to our final thoughts, let's call out some other matches from this last 20 years. I need to immediately call out the World Tag League final with Keiji Muto and Akebono. Free on YouTube, find it. It is it's 20 minutes long with Akebono and Keiji Muto. Find it. Must see. The Machine Guns matches are good. They have a good one in 07. They have the 2010 match where he kicks out the 3D. I like the match with Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe. Let's talk Fish Market. Alex, go for it.
One of the warmest memories I have of ever watching any wrestling match is the Destination X 2008 Fish Market Street Fight. It was me and my friends Brody and Sam, my buddy Sammy Sam, who I had not seen for over 10 years, and I got to see him at All In this past month, or 2 months ago, whenever that was. So that was great. But we, we had some herb and ordered a bunch of food, and we're watching this TNA show, and it was just the funniest thing we had ever seen. there's a part in the match where Curryman or Shark Boy puts a ho-ho on a fucking fishing line and reels it outside the ring, and Bubba walks by it and looks at it like he doesn't see it's on the line, and he bites it and gets reeled back into the ring. I'm sorry, that's funny to me. So it wasn't fucking, Hackenschmidt Gotch or anything like that, but it's if you've never seen it and like you even find it remotely like enjoyment in comedy wrestling, I can't recommend it enough. It's also an outlier in exactly all the things we're talking about, is that specifically Bubba Ray presents this like I'm a fucking tough guy thing, and that match is so silly that it's
which is a compliment to him, right?
Yes,
it's just a shame
exactly.
he doesn't. Yeah,
it's a breath of fresh air in that regard. The match with Jeff at Lockdown 2013, where the Aces and Eights reveal happens, actually is a pretty good match.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff gets like a massive concussion towards the end, so that it kind of falls apart, but it's pretty good up until that point.
The AJ stuff's good.
Yeah.
Riley brings up in the chat, I think that's Lockdown 08. I believe that is Team Christian Team. They are good in that match. The street fight with Beer Money at Lockdown 09.
I really like the Joseph Park match because, like, Abyss does a really great job of like being like a non-wrestler, like acting like he's a non-wrestler.
And Bubba's good in that match.
Yeah, and Bubba's amazing in that match. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Slammiversary 2014. It's not blowaway, but I remember it being really solid. EC3 and Bubba Ray have a Texas death match.
And you will not believe me, but it's true. Some of the Ken Anderson stuff is good too.
Hey, man. Stranger things have happened.
The Aries match you mentioned earlier, and the Wolves series. If you watch these matches to prepare for this, go to YouTube. A lot of that stuff's on YouTube, specifically the ladder match at the Manhattan Center is on there in full. And that's really fun. So, like, look, man, there are a lot of wrestlers we've covered on the Grappler that have had less call-outs than this at the end of their acts. We've had a lot of matches to go to. I think their catalog, to be honest, and I'll go straight into our kind of legacy talk here.
Oh, one more. I'm sorry.
Yes.
A show I've mentioned several times in Grin Grappler history, the famous ECW Arena house show TNA did in 2006. The main event of that show was a Philadelphia street fight with the Dudleys, AMW, and I'm pretty sure the Outlaws, that culminates in the Terry Funk, the chairs getting thrown in the ring by the crowd. And it's a pretty fun spectacle in its own right.
We should also note before moving on, Hudson brings up he's in Hogan's last match.
Oh, the one in London or the one in the UK or whatever?
Yeah, he's in there. And also, it's important to note, this was a thing at the time. Remember they do the X Division thing where he has to weigh in before the matches, Bubba?
Yes, that was funny.
That was fun. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. Hudson brings up the Immortal stuff with Steiner, which is very fun. Even if the match is obviously hilarious, the angles, the pre-tapes, the skits are fun. I have more thoughts, but I guess the way I'll kick off our kind of closing thoughts is, I think they're a team that's catalog doesn't have many matches I deem great, with the obvious exceptions being those TLC affairs. I actually think they are underrated in terms of, I think they have a lot of stuff that is is good to very good. Especially good. If you had it as a scale, it's like, I don't know how many matches we'd have in here that would be, if we did a best of Dudley's playlist. I don't know how many matches are like, that has to be on there. Probably a couple. I think we'd actually have a pretty extensive conversation about like what should make it in terms of the good stuff. I think there's a lot of it actually. I think they've become underrated in that regard. Oracle, what are your closing thoughts, if you have any, regarding the Duds here after 3 hours of conversational content?
Yeah, I mean, I always thought the Dudleys were good. I never thought they were. See, let me say this. I think the Dudleys were awesome, but I don't think they were. I think they were awesome pro wrestling tag team.
How's this, Oracle? Good team, great act. How does that sound?
Yeah, there you go. Good team, great act. As I like to say, great pro wrestlers.
Yeah.
Good in the ring. They got over in a lot of different places. ECW, the Fed, TNA. They actually have a lot of good matches ranging over the course of 20 years, which is pretty impressive. No, they're not the Rock and Roll Express. No, they're not the Midnight Express. They're not really the Road Warriors. But they are a good tag team. They're probably victims of their own hype, the WWE's hype, and people counting how many tag title belts they won, like that means anything. So that probably hurts them, and I think Alex said earlier, the sort of the criticism is kind of swayed too far the other way. They were good. It's just the niche culture that we're in, the hardcore fandom that we're in, people get
I get it. Yeah,
defensive about things. But yeah, I think they have a pretty good legacy, all things considered, and they were a great tag team for sure.
I think part of it too, it's we talk about recency bias sometimes. I think the opposite can be true in the sense of like, I think the audience that's their biggest, loudest proponents can be very dismissive of the teams that have emerged in the last decade. And I don't think the Dudleys compare favorably to all of those teams that have emerged in the last decade. I'll just leave it at that. Like, there are some heavy hitters, I think, that have come around in this last, that have really shone in this last decade. And I think because they wasn't in TLC 2, some people are very dismissive of them in favor of the Dudleys, right? And that creates that war almost, right? So yeah, I don't know. Bobby, what's your final thoughts on the matter?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. Like, I don't think they're the best tag team of all time or whatever, but there's enough good stuff that they have, and they were hot at the right time too. I think that really is something that kind of leaves a mark for people too. So like, and yeah, people have overcorrected a little bit because they're not the best tag team of all time, but like they're still quite good. And I think unless you do kind of a deep dive like this sort of thing, you kind of miss out a little bit because you are just focused on those big moments. It's like, none of those three teams in any of those TLC matches can really make the case for best team of all time, but they're all still very important in their roles.
I will say, they wouldn't be my pick. I do think the Hardys are...
They're the closest of the three teams, for sure.
Yeah. I spoke to Alex about a lot when we were in Vegas. The amount they still matter in 2025, I think is like...
insane.
Astonishing. I think they're a level now, to me, the Hardys is undeniable. Like...
Yes.
The connection they have with their audience, dude. They had a match on WWE TV this year, and they fucking won as outside guys, and the people were like, damn right they won. They're the Hardys, like, they are remarkable in that regard. Contrarian Alex, your closing thoughts when it comes to the Dudleys?
Yeah, I meant what I said earlier. I think Ray Jr.'s up there. That's immediately comes to mind as far as like if I think of the all-time great opening acts for like pay-per-view TV, something like that. Ray Jr., Dudley Boyz, because those are two acts that are guaranteed to get the crowd reacting the way you want them to either way. Yeah, what y'all have been saying, what I said at the top, the Dudley Boyz are not the greatest tag team of all time. They're not the Kabuki Warriors, but they don't suck, and that's what they never sucked. That's what annoys me with some of like the pendulum going too far the other way. Is people, they weren't bad, probably like if we were doing like a top 20 discussion, they'd probably be in it as far as tag teams go. This whole thing we get hung up on about accolades. First of all, they weren't really the WCW tag team champions. They weren't really the anything champions because pro wrestling's fake. But like, yeah. They worked for ECW when it was alive and won their titles. They worked for the WF. They worked for TNA. That type of thing. But that whole shit about them being WCW tag champions, go fuck yourself. Like it's
I agree. That is like of all of it, that is a step too far every time. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, real sports people debate goats and stuff, so you can't fucking interject your own logic into the pro wrestling discussion. But when I think about the Dudleys, I think about where I know they succeeded more than anything is not what we saw on TV. These guys tore it down every night at house shows. They did. They got the crowds like reacting and whatnot, and they possessed a set of skills that is not really commonplace anymore. And that's not even a used to be better thing. It's just factual. What they know how to do as wrestlers is not what, and that's obviously what gets us into the complicated situation we're in now, is that Bubba still thinks he knows what it takes to be a successful pro wrestler in 2025. And it's like, no, dog, the game's changed.
Yeah.
You had something that these kids don't have, but they have something you don't have, et cetera, et cetera. It's a fucking vicious cycle. Mm-hmm. So in closing, the Dudley Boyz are, I will say, as far as tag teams go, Jesus, man, who didn't they wrestle? Even on like local house shows, or not house shows, but like local fucking indies and stuff.
They had an incredible run. Yeah.
They've wrestled the Rock and Rolls, and like I'm trying, like the FTR is probably like the only big tag name I can immediately think of. They didn't cross paths with. Mm-hmm. So, and like we're talking, they wrestled the Undertaker and Rock like as a tag team. They were in the ring with Steve Austin. They were, they would have wrestled with John Cena at some point in time. It's they're not the greatest tag team of all time, but they are a very important act. And like we said, for better or for worse, they had a series of matches that revolutionized the business forever, or changed, depending on which word you want to use. Right. So, in the end, I think the main takeaway from this, to all y'all wrestlers out there listening, be careful of how you talk about yourself and your legacy. If you're going to talk about how good you were, you better fucking be Bret Hart and like legitimately be one of the best ever. But it's typically not a good idea to label yourself the best of all time at something. And it's typically not a good idea to do that while talking about how everyone that's in the contemporary version of that sucks. And I feel bad if D-Von's listening to this, because he didn't do any of that. It's mostly the white guy in the duo. So we've joked around and used the word complicated a lot in this. The Dudleys don't have a complicated legacy, if you know what you're talking about. They were a great tag team. They were an immensely successful tag team. They possessed a set of skills that, if you want to be a successful tag team in wrestling, I would say to mirror most of them. But at the end of the day, it's a tale that's no different than any other form of entertainment. One of them just got an ego about themselves and publicly proclaimed a lot of shit that in some ways tarnished their legacy. So Dudley Boyz certainly get my seal of approval. But yeah, they were great. They didn't suck, but they're not the best ever.
And in fairness, if it pops them, there is a part of me that's like, maybe it's beast to just say the best ever over and over again and bury everyone. I don't know. It works. If it works for them, fine. I don't know. An iconic act, and I think more so maybe than any other act or wrestler we've ever covered on Grin Grappler, and I don't say that lightly. I think we got the best version of their careers, and that sounds insulting, but I don't intend it that way. They are, by hook or by crook, and whether fair or unfair, an insane success story. Genuinely. Like, what they became from that act and that gimmick, you don't have to like it, but I think there is something to be said for respecting, like, dude, what they've meant to pro wrestling fans, considering where they started, and also, like, the act they were in ECW, imagine thinking they would have eventually had the staying power it had. Like, that act was the most, it was like the most, raw, crass fucking take on being wrestling stars you could ever imagine, right? And they only become an act that in 2026 they're going to be releasing ultimate figures of them. Mattel were going to be making figures of the Dudley Boyz. And
we want tables.
Back to those. Yeah, we want like, and these are not things you have to like. Everyone's entitled to whatever they want. I don't like all of it. No. What I'm saying is like, it's pretty fucking admirable what they've become and what what they ended up meaning. So
I'm glad you called it out because it was not something I would have spent enough time thinking about. But you're absolutely right, especially when you consider how non-promising the start of their WWF run was, and for them to become what they became, and again,
magic, lightning in a bottle. I think in some ways.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And we like the Bully Ray stuff. There was good in that too, and that's a very good way of putting it, Joe. That their careers worked out. It was the best timeline for those two fellas.
Every it felt like there was a couple of times they could have fell through the cracks. Perfect storm, right? Like even to when they leave WWE, TNA needed something for that Spike TV premiere. Like all of it, man. And I think there's something cool about that, and especially like D-Von seems like a really cool guy. So good for D-Von. Yeah. Okay, let's look ahead here as we cross 3 hours and 10 minutes,
brother,
to next month's Grin Grappler. Here we go. There's a lot of tag team candidates for this month, but I didn't want to double up on tag teams, so they'll be left for next year's September Grappler. And so here we go. A gentleman who is currently going viral on the TikTok, Raven. Could be a very polarizing addition. I'm going to warn you now, there are some unique names on the ballot. As much as I may dislike the Raven episode, I sense Bob would dislike this next one even more. A man who seemingly may be done with the ring. The monster among men, Braun Strowman, on the board. One of Great Britain's most probably honestly underrated grapplers, Doug Williams. I'm putting forward here. One of Contrarian Alex's all-time favorite wrestlers, Kairi Sane, on the board.
Right, baby.
Now we're talking.
And finally, the grappler that will probably win this conversation, Tajiri, rounds out our 5
Oh,
here.
shit.
Yep.
So, just for anyone keeping score at home, yes, indeed, the names are Raven, Braun Strowman, Doug Williams, Kairi Sane, and Tajiri. Bob O'Neill, I know you're going for Strowman, but just confirm it for me, please. Go for it.
I'm going to go with Tajiri, actually.
Yeah. Feels like it's going to be Tajiri, boys.
That feels like the natural choice. Almost feels like besides Kyrie, you just gave us kind of softballs to make Tajiri's case stronger.
Well, I actually don't decide when wrestlers were born, Bob, so I can't, it's kind of the names that, Yeah. To be honest, there are the other names that would be fun ones was like one of the Rock and Roll Express, which we're definitely going to do Rock and Roll Express eventually. I didn't want to do 2 straight tags, So like, this is actually kind of a thin, in terms of singles guys. What do you think, Oracle? It's going to be Tajiri, right?
Yeah, Tajiri, as Steve Austin called him.
Yeah.
Tajiri.
Yeah. I'm telling you, though, don't sleep on it. 2027, 2028, that Strowman episode. We'll have an interesting conversation or two.
Psychosis, here we come, baby. That
Yes,
fucking Psychosis match is definitely going on this.
Tajiri will probably do... What do you think, Alex? Tajiri, you in on this?
Yeah, Steve Carino, Hardcore Heaven 2000, absolutely has to be on that.
Has to be on
There you
that.
go.
We'll probably do... We have to show some love to his work in Japan, because I think otherwise it could become... We need to get that Finley match, Oracle.
Finley, or maybe we could do the Nishimura match if we ever found that. Did we ever find that one?
I don't know. We need to find all that shit.
Following up on my opening match thing, Rey Mysterio from No Mercy 2003 is also quite good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tajiri is the one. I think Tajiri is the play.
Now I could easily concoct a Kairi Sane 6-match lineup, but
we're definitely doing a Kairi episode, 100%. Yeah, that's got to happen eventually, right? It's inevitable, but the story's incomplete.
With Raven, we already did the Goldberg match, so there was the double dog collar match, and then just 5 other matches where I'm just like, oh god.
I just wanted to reference the TikTok thing. I'm not sure we're going to do a Raven episode, I've got to be honest. If you're a big Raven fan, I'm not sure that will ever actually come to fruition. Because if it comes down to a dogfight between Strowman and Raven, I am fighting for the monster among men. I made that clear now.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Because I also just don't know what's left to say about Raven, in that like I think he's the opposite of this, where I actually think the assessment of Raven is like, yeah, man, like the creative guy,
All right,
yeah.
hold on.
I think we need to do we need to find the Nishimura match if we can.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Nishimura, by the way.
Dragon said it's out there, so we'll figure it out. But Tajiri up next on the Grappler. There you go, folks. Lock it in. It's maybe the longest episode of the Grappler ever. I'm not sure. It's certainly close. Let's do some plugs and get on out of here, boys. Contrarian Alex, tell the people about what's happening with the Contrarians, boss. Go for it.
We just wrapped our summer journey, which was a series of films that were celebrated by the MTV Movie Awards, closing with The Matrix and Big Daddy. So we spent some time in 1999. And we're also in the midst of a journey of films about immigration we're doing right now. Not with our full, like, usual gimmick, but basically just kind of trying to shine a light on really unfortunate happenings in the country right now and doing what we can to show our stance, but also celebrating some great film that's out there. So recently we talked about Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator for that. So we are thecontrarians.com, at Contrarian Prime across social media. Yeah, appreciate it. Pleasure to be here.
Beautiful. Appreciate you, Alex. Okay. Lord Oracle. What is your next town, bro? Are you on the draft?
I am on the fantasy football draft. I'll be there live streaming tomorrow as we rush through 2 hours as the window closes for us to get our draft done by midnight tomorrow evening.
Brother.
I may be attending a birthday bash this Friday evening.
Oh, very nice. I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not that.
I
Not
heard
that.
about
This.
something that yeah. You didn't organize this, did you, Joe?
No, it says it right there, bro. I wouldn't do that. That would be
Good.
vain.
I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, thank you.
This has nothing to do with we definitely had some things planned. This was not like
we actually had to cancel our plans.
We have nothing to do. We have to just do
No.
something. This was definitely not one of those things.
No, because we had plans, Oracle. We cancelled them because they wanted to do a party, remember?
Right. Yep. Thanks to Bob, right? Bob
Yes.
did this.
Yeah.
Bob is working on a format, apparently, of Holbert-centric topics we're going to discuss. So God only knows what that will be. I don't know. All right. Good stuff. Thanks, Oracle.
Yeah,
Hey,
cool.
Bob, before you get into your plugs, is there anything people should do that have enjoyed this?
Yeah, you go ahead and smash that like button. We've had a great time here. 3.5 hours about the Dudleys. Nothing better.
Nothing better.
Bobby, get the like button.
Bob didn't even believe that. Nothing better, did he? You could tell. He said, "What a waste of my time." Wonderful, Bob. Anything you want to plug?
I'm also part of the draft tomorrow. We'll see if I end up on the stream or not. And then Friday sounds like I have plans. Friday evening, so I'll be there.
Should be a great time, folks. There will also be a WCW Lives tomorrow in the afternoon. Thursday, look for an LNG Productions upload of the Monday Night Wars draft. Contrarian Alex was there for that in great form. Confirmed Shoot was there too, and Buster. We had a great time recording that last month sometime. So, yeah, tune in for that whenever that is up and ready to go on the LNG Productions channel. And as we say, Friday, the birthday bash. We appreciate you all. If you haven't already taken Bob's advice, please like the video. Tajiri up next for us. We'll try and get that in before the end of the month so we're back on track here and in rhythm. But we appreciate the support. Have a great evening. Keep grinning. All how. Enjoy this outro. Goodbye, folks.